Everyone has a unique gift, and Mike and Diana, host of the 1NELife podcast, believe that most people don't know how to use their gifts or what they are. Mike and Diana want you to see things from a different perspective and be true to yourself. The 1NELife podcast unites the world through art, fashion, music, and film. It inspires, motivates, and creates positive energy, love, and compassion to all communities, and creates an equal playing field for all. On the 1NELife podcast, they cover topics like building relationships, overcoming adversity, habits of healthy people, and much, much more. We only have one life to live. Be yourself and live your truth. Add the 1NELife podcast to your playlist. That's the number 1NELife. Available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and your favorite podcast platform.
All right, y'all, welcome to the 1NELife podcast. I am Mike MIC Reed, and as always, I got my lovely co-host Diana Gotti from the AV Wellbeing Coalition in the building with us, doing it the Gotti way.
That's right. Hey.
And we got special guests today with us, the award-winning actor, poet, host, and humanitarian.
There he is.
Sean Hill's in the building with us, y'all. What's going on with you, man?
Oh, man, it's good to be here, y'all. Just spreading love through poetry. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
So before we can jump into this conversation, we're gonna what's going on with the AV right now?
You know, I'm excited because next week, guys, it's the big day. The second CAP cohort will get together, and that's the certification applied positive psychology, and it's
I'm so excited because I'm a part of this second one
Yes,
now,
you are.
and I'm just so excited. I got my schedule a few days ago. They sent us an email, and I can't tell you how excited I am. I'm like to even like jump in on this.
Yeah, shout out to Nardi Lopez for making this happen at the city of Palmdale.
Yes.
Yeah, Palmdale's
So,
doing big things.
You're going to be joining us
Friday morning. I'm
Friday
going to be
morning,
part of the
and
greeters.
part of the program as well, though, because you said that they're going to bring the first group in to kind of mentor us and guide us.
Yeah, kind of like to kind of give our experience and kind of help coach and just partner. And I think that that's strong because when we stepped into it, we didn't really know what to expect. So we would refer to a lot of different other cohorts that had started, but nothing here. So the fact that we're going to be able to give our experience to the next group, but it's still within our community, just to kind of help build, I guess, better projects, stronger projects. But I think here in the Antelope Valley, there's so much that happens and goes on, but we don't work together. Right. You know, it's like 5 of the same things happening. You know, sometimes like at the same time or, you know, one weekend after another. And it's like, no, I would love to participate, but I can't. I'm already committed to, you know, this place or that organization. So the fact that we can work together, we're only going to get better. Right?
No, absolutely. And I love the fact that they're bringing you guys in because you guys get to, you know, give us your experience and kind of help us guide us through what we're going to go through and learn. Yeah. Like, I'm looking forward to that.
No, that's big.
And especially because we have this podcast now that you and I can kind of like talk about it every week.
Yeah, and be able to just give some tools, right, for your toolbox.
Back to the community.
I love how y'all are having accidental meetings about things. That's just great.
You know?
Great. You said accidental meetings? You're like, let's plan out, this next 15 projects together right now.
Yeah.
We just happen to be in the same
Nothing
building
too big.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Right.
And also, we got our workshop coming up very soon. We're still in the works of that with, I keep forgetting the name of that company, LACC.
American Jobs.
Yeah, American Jobs of California. So we're working together with them, partnering with them to bring workshops to the Antelope Valley, teaching our youth how to do podcasts and give them another skill.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so
That's cool.
it's going to be pretty dope.
Public speaking.
Even
as adults, when we kind of throw it out there like, hey, how would you like to, just get out there, get in front of the mic, and they're so hesitant or they get nervous or the fear factor kicks in. So let's navigate through this. Let's kind of do it together, walk through this hand in hand, and just let's talk. Like, I think we were kind of sharing that earlier. We're like books, right? We all have a story to tell. So let's just do it together. Somebody needs to hear it. Yeah. And if not today, maybe in the future, you know?
Right.
Absolutely.
In my bias, we're all poetry books, of course. And we're all these condensed stories wrapped in single human beings, right?
Yeah.
And to see, just even to hear what you two are talking about in the different kind of community programs going on out here, that is the main way that we're able to dialogue and connect and be more of ourselves with each other. And you're teaching people how to be more of themselves and speak out loud and own who they are. That's special, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was talking about this on the last show, how, back in my generation, when I was a kid, our adults was always telling kids like, hey, don't speak. Right. Don't say, only talk when you're spoken to, right? Yeah. And I feel like that's wrong, because when kids grow up, and this is why kids don't talk now, or they hold their feelings in, because they always taught that, like, hey, don't talk unless someone asks you. Like, don't do that. Use your voice. Your voice matters. Your voice has meaning to it. Yeah. And that's why, I started this podcast. One of the reasons why I started this podcast, and one of the reasons why I want to work with the youth, to get them talking and like using their voice, because it matters. They're our future. Like, we can't keep them quiet.
Absolutely. You just reminded me of another poet, Anis Mojigani, I believe. I could be saying his name wrong, but he says in one of his poems, this is for the ones that were told to speak when you were spoken to, but they are never spoken to.
Exactly.
And he just said it so beautifully to connect all these different types of outcasts or people that are left out in the dark, and how much we ignore them or we don't acknowledge them, and how painful that can be. But then the poem transcends into this whole concept of shake the dust. Right. And he's talking about shaking off the dust of life from this rug, like just shaking off all these things that have been negative onto your life and shaking out your life in a way to have a renewed, revitalized life. It's beautiful, y'all. He's one of my favorite poets, easily.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It sounds dope. I want to look that up.
Yeah, I'll send y'all the links for sure.
Yeah, you should. Over the week, or actually on Tuesday week, it was a group of us that got together. We're going to have the first candlelight in the Antelope Valley, or I guess that's what it's called. A vigil for suicide prevention and just for mental health. And we were just kind of brainstorming, like, what should we do? How should we, present this? Because we are going to have survivors, right? Yeah. Or family members. And what about people that are just kind of navigating through these emotions? And that was one of the suggestions. It's like, we really should be talking. There should be ways for us to express what we're feeling, and not only that, but for men. Yes. We really wanted to do something like have a male speaker, or my husband was like, art. We should even have like a wall where people can just write or be able to express it. But you're right, we really should be just kind of putting it on either on paper, having conversations with each other, like, what's going on, how are you doing, and I thought of you. I was like, you know what, poetry would be really nice for people to hear. I
mean, it has been saving lives since time immemorial, basically, right? And ever since poetry was even discussed or talked about, and the way it was used to pass down stories, right? To talk about fantastical stories. If you look at all the religious texts, they all use Bible-like type of verses, right? And verses or poems, right? All these kind of things that throughout our lifetime, I don't think we notice how impactful poetry has been to us. Yeah. And even in a commercial jingle that we remember, they're using rhyme and meters, right? And things like that. So even with the expression of like you're saying, with any kind of emotions that are even hard to talk about, it has never gotten old to me to see someone get up for the first time and share a poem, for example, about their mother and how they were hurt by them and any kind of abuse that happened, and then they feel stronger after sharing that in a group of strangers, or maybe a group of classmates even, right? And it does not get old to me to see that relief that happens as soon as that last word gets finished, and that whatever that was off their chest, or whatever the understanding or the clarity they might have gotten from writing this or releasing it verbally, even that mind, body, like spirit connection, all of that happens through poetry. And I love that you're even thinking about this. I love that.
Yeah, actually, a few years back, I got to kind of experience poetry at the juvenile center. Yeah. So there's, I guess it's kind of like a jail within a jail. And they're all youth, right? And there was a program, and they were able to, and it's through the homeboy industry, and it's all poetry. Mm-hmm. I mean, they kind of were telling us, you might hear some things that will make you emotional, but how they were able to just express, just what they did, and how they're coping with their emotions, talking about their parents, expressing what they did, telling them that they're going to be okay. And some of them were doing like years, and they were like 17. They weren't quite adults yet. They were kind of in that stage. Some were 18, but the way that they were just able to express what they were feeling, what they were going through, and just be remorseful of what they had committed. Some had murdered, and the reason why they did it. It was just so sad. I just remember crying and just wanting to hold them, because that's all they really wanted, is just to experience what love was. But putting that on paper and expressing that, that's powerful. 100%. So poetry, it's a healer.
It is, absolutely. And so, one of the things I want to talk about today is not only do I want to, give the youth, a platform to use their voices, right? But I also want to kind of teach them that, and I saw this on your social media, listening is very important, right? Listening is very important. And I think a lot of people, we forget that. And I know I have this one Buddha quote that I kind of love, and it kind of speaks to me every time I read it. It says, when you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. And it's true. Like when we talking, and I think that's where people kind of, they forget, like you're speaking of things you already know, right? And you're seeing it just from your perspective. And like me and my girl, like we have conversations all the time, right? And I think like last week, me and her had like a little disagreement, and like our disagreements are great, right? Because we talk about it. And she couldn't understand something that had happened, and I said, you have to stop looking at it from your perspective. Look at it from my perspective. And she did. She took a pause, and she said. And it clicked, and she was like, okay, now you're right. And these are conversations that me and, Marcy have. And I think a lot of couples and just, people in general, we forget that. Like we always looking at tunnel vision from our own perspective, and we're not listening to the person that we're talking to.
100%, yeah.
Right? So listening is very important, and people forget that.
Yeah. And the most beautifully insane part to me is when we think we're listening and we're not. Right? That's like, what? Like,
no,
what am I doing? I thought I got what you were saying, but I thought just like that.
Right? No, and it's true, and it's like even like with the love languages, right? Like, and that's something that like I'm trying to get Marcy into this, right? Because like no, for real, because my my first love language is touch, right? And hers is touch. And so we're good on that part, right? But my second one is words of affirmation, right? And Marcy is not, she doesn't know how to, I don't know if I want to say she doesn't know how, she doesn't communicate her feelings.
Or she hasn't been able to practice that.
Right.
There haven't been opportunities.
I'm trying to get her to do that because that's my love language, and that's what I understand.
100%. Yeah.
Right. So if she says, hey, I love you, or I like what you did, or just any type of words, or, congrats, or and she's working on it. She's been doing a great job at it. But that's one of the things that we're working on right now. It's like, because that's her listening to me. Right.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know I forgot what her second one is, but I know hers is touch. And I'm always constantly touching on her, rubbing her back,
It's so funny because for me, that was like 7%. I'm like,
which one?
Touch? Yeah, touch. Yeah. And words of affirmation. For me, acts of quality time, of course, was dominant.
I hear that.
Yeah, but acts of service and gifts were neck and neck. And then definitely touch and words of affirmation, both were 7%.
Oh, wow.
It's not big, but quality time, it's everything.
For sure.
Like I was sharing this morning, we just kind of were like, let's go for a walk. Let's just have some coffee and just take it in. And I felt so just happy, so pleased. But, sometimes we think we need more than than what we have. And in reality, if we're able to just appreciate the little things, life would be so much better, less stress. You know, you wouldn't be disappointed with such high expectations, where it's really the little things. So that's why quality time for me is big.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And I think even little things in the communication you both are talking about, it is really easy to take it for granted, for sure. And I think, and even in my relationship right now, it feels like we're in that zone of practicing slowing down when we're communicating and not getting like to that heated place of when we misunderstand something. So even when you say something about listening, right, it's I'm even trying to get to the place where I don't tell her like, you need to do this for me. I'm like, hey, can you do this for me? And even switching those things around is such an inviting kind of feeling instead of an argumentative, demanding tone. Right. So I'm looking at communication on the level of just how the delivery is, the actual listening, the reciprocation of that, the slowing down, the pacing. We both can be really quick-minded and quick-headed with that. And I think it's, she's been a beautiful match for me to really,
but you know what,
really practice that.
And you're right, because, and this is something that I learned in therapy, like we all deliver and receive things differently. So we got to be conscious of that, but sometimes we're not, and it's easy not to be, but we have to practice that. Right. Even like with me and my girl, like I always, I try to practice, like when she is saying something and I don't understand it, you know, I tell her, I said, you know what, this is what I heard. I'm not sure if that's how you delivered it, but this is what I heard, you know, and I was taught in therapy, that's what you have to say, opposed to, you know, the negative side of it, you know, assuming like this is what you're saying. Because if I don't understand something, I'm not going to just assume and like just hear it from I got to look at it from your perspective now. Yeah. And so I communicate with her with that. I say, well, you know what, this is kind of what I'm getting what you're saying. Is it true? You know, and she'd be like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Then it's a healthy conversation at that point.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Because I'm quick to assume. I'd be like, no, that's what you said. That's how you meant it. That's how you felt it. Your intention was this, and that's how I felt.
Right.
Yeah, no.
You know? And it's like, oh, that's my past pain. That's my taking it personal. Yeah. That's my family upbringing, all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That was me 10 years ago.
Okay, my bad, babe, my bad.
Yeah. Well, actually, I saw that for your birthday. She took you to
get
your
happy
hair
birthday,
washed.
by the way.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
And just actually, as I was watching that video, I was like, you know what, that's dope. The fact that she kind of brought you somewhere where you can really let your hair down.
Literally.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Literally.
Like, let me be here right now.
Yeah.
Let me just take it in. And even when I get my hair done or like a haircut, just people kind of massaging my scalp. It's so soothing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's so relaxing. Right? Yeah. So
top 10 favorite things now in my life. For sure. Scalp massages.
Yeah. So I saw that. I was like, you know what? That's such a perfect gift. And I mean, that's one of my love languages. Clearly, one's quality time and then acts of service. Yeah. So I was like, dang, that's dope. I was like, I should do that, you know, for either myself, but my husband's bald, so I don't think.
Oh, no, that works. It works for bald people, for sure.
Right? Get a little massage in there.
I used to be bald back in high school, y'all.
Really?
I was on the high school swim team. I was like, I got to cut this eventually, apparently for aerodynamic purposes.
Yeah. No.
And it was a beautiful, freeing feeling. I could feel every breeze. And then whenever someone did touch my head, oh my God, it multiplied the feeling in the sense, for sure. So I highly recommend it, as well as for those with or without hair.
Right.
That's great. When I was younger, I had more hair than you.
Yeah.
I had braids. Yeah, when I was.
Oh, I think you showed me the picture, right? Or no?
I think I showed you.
The long hair?
No, when I had an afro when I was a kid, the curly hair.
Couldn't fit through the doorway.
Yeah.
I always wanted curly hair, but I don't know where I was gonna get that. My hair is so straight, and then they say straight hair people want curly hair.
Yep.
We're never satisfied.
Yeah,
never satisfied. Hey, so let's rewind this for a minute. Let's get our audience to know who Sean Hill is.
Yes.
So, because we met you a couple of months ago out here at the Palmdale Playhouse. Shout out to the Palmdale Playhouse.
Palmdale Playhouse.
And, go follow them. They on IG now.
Yeah.
Yes, about time. They're on IG. Go follow them on IG.
PalmdalePlayhouse.com.
And but yeah, tell us about you. How'd you get started in poetry? Like, take us way back. Way back. Yeah, no, for real. We want to know way back. Like, what inspired you to become the man? The actor, poet, humanitarian that you are.
Gosh. Oh, you got it.
I got it.
And I love messing up with my words too. So believe it or not, And it's just such a fun thing to play with words now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So yeah, I remember as far back as middle school when I was writing poetry. And my brother was sharing poems with me that he was writing that sounded like rap poetry, he'd call it. And it was like half disturbing, half hype, half gangster rap type of feel to it. And he was going through like being in a gang at the time and feeling that that feeling of loss in life, or he just didn't know his focus, bad people, bad timing kind of stuff he was hanging out with. And whenever he shared his poetry, I felt like he was feeling better. I felt like I felt cooler and better. I was like more uplifted, and it was interesting, right? Creative. I was like, wow. And then I started writing the most like nonsensical stuff. Right? It started with that. We're like, I'm writing, pretending I was, one of the earliest ones I remember is pretending I was part of like Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum's team in Independence Day.
Okay.
Y'all remember that movie?
Yeah.
And so I remember writing like, I'm going to team up with Will Smith and punch these aliens in the face, and then we're going to replace them in space, or like something silly, like barely made sense, but it was so fun.
But it made sense to you, right?
It made sense to my little heart. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. And I remember then going into high school, and creative writing teacher, shout out to Mr. Klima, Palisades High School.
Yeah, my brother went to Pally High.
No way. What
yeah. Oh, shoot.
Give him a big hug.
Yeah.
So yeah, Palisades, great staff there. And I wrote a poem for the first assignment. Okay. And it was, what does poetry mean? What does poetry mean to you, right? And I think I kind of remember some of that one, because it was something like, poetry can be about your favorite cereal bowl. It can be about when you scored your soccer goal. It can be about anything and everything. Poetry can be whatever you want it to be, or something like that, right? It was short, simple, cool.
Wait, I'm going to pause you for a
What's
second.
up? Talk to me.
So that was one of your first poems?
No. I've been writing poems to myself all the time, but like that I turned in as an assignment.
Okay.
That was probably, I think that was probably the first one I remember. Yeah, turning in.
Right. Okay. So from that poem to now, what is poetry to you now?
Wow. Wow.
You know how they do the before, the after?
Yeah, those are fun.
Have you ever compared the two? Like thought back?
Well, you know what? After all the definitions and all the different ways that I've heard poetry defined now in my 40 years of experience.
Well, of course, because you're involved, right? You're involved in everything you do, but
no, I'd say it's still remotely a similar definition, if not that without the intention of something being poetry, it still can't be poetry. So if someone like wrote in their journal and they had rhymes in there, they had cool poetic devices and things like that, but they didn't feel like it was poetry, they didn't call it poetry, then I'd still respect their belief of that. I'd still respect their opinion of what they're calling it. Much in the same way artists, right? They throw some paint against the wall. Some people are gonna be like, I was just messing around. That's having fun. Some people are like, no, that's $20,000 of art actually. And you're like, what? Right?
Yeah.
So it's a similar feel for me in my experience with poetry now, and the respect I have for it now. It's still intentional. You can have poetic devices in it or not. You can have metaphors and similes and anaphorisms or not. But you still have to say and declare maybe that it is poetry to you. Right. And I could call it poetry. I could be like, yo, what you wrote the other day on your Instagram post? Yo, that was a poem to me. That was dope.
Right.
But if they're like, no, I just put a caption there. That was just my caption. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. You know? It's kind of a mutual respect definition.
Yeah. Still an expression, right?
Yeah.
Either whether we're thinking it or feeling at the moment, but it just felt right.
Yeah. Because, of course, biasly, I see everything as poetry nowadays, and even when comedians are doing similes in their comedy sets, I see them using poetic devices like that. And it's beautiful to see it now more often and more clearly when I'm taking that in.
Yeah.
Well, you're a creator. You're an artist, I should say, rather.
Yeah, but I know how to turn off that switch sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think as artists, we need to practice that more often for sure. Yeah.
Why is it?
Because there's times where, just the example of the poppies, you're enjoying a flower, but if you're a scientist or a botanist, you can be in your head like, oh, that's the chlorophyll that makes this flower this way and this, instead of
Not
just
being
like,
present.
taking that moment, and being present
yeah.
about it. And when I saw myself as an actor, even like finding it hard to not judge actors or something like that. I was like, whoa, I need to stop doing that. These movies used to be fun for me. Let me calm down, because I enjoy cinema so much.
But you know what? That's funny you said it, because I was in television for 35 years, right?
way.
So it's hard for me to watch a TV show or a movie, right? Because I can see all the imperfections.
Right.
Like I can see somebody's hat was like right here, then right here, then cocaine was right here, then it was right here, then it was right here. Like I can pick up on everything, right? But I tell people now, I said, if I can get through a TV show or a movie, if the story is that great and I don't pay attention to that, ooh, that was a great story.
Right.
Because it took me away from like criticizing it.
Yeah. And here's the thing I learned as an actor, though. In theater, there's a silent contract that we make as an actor and with the audience. And it's, I'm going to do my best as an artist to present all these things in this story as real and as truthful as possible. And your half of the contract as an audience member is that you're going to do your best to imagine this to be real and to put yourself in these circumstances and think about all these things and suspend disbelief.
Right.
That is what we're asking for you as an audience, to meet us 50-50 as an artist and as an audience. And so when I hear you say that, I'm like, yeah, we often blame the art for like, okay, you have to take us away. You have to transport us. Right. But how hard are we working to transport ourselves there? And that's where I started working more over time to do that, where I'm not going to judge, like you said, the continuity thing like that. It gets hard sometimes, right?
That's because I'm a producer.
But they messed up. You're right. Yeah. They messed up on their 50%. So that was like negative 5%. So in my end, I'm like, let me change that 5%. No. The cup is, they moved it when I wasn't looking. Let me make that up now, right? And have fun with it and still engage and not critique in that sense or like mark them off for that, Yeah. That makes sense, yeah?
Yeah.
No, it does.
It does. Never thought about it that way, yeah.
All right, well, we got new thoughts and ideas. And that's the least I want to do with my poetry too, is like to leave someone with a new thought or a new feeling too. That's like, I know my job is done when someone goes, oh, I never thought of that. Or like, oh, I never felt that before. And I'm like, I can go to sleep happy tonight.
But when we first met you and I first saw you at the Playhouse, I thought you was incredible. Like your stage presence was amazing.
Thanks, man.
Like you took me away.
Yeah, you did.
Like I was really present in everything you was doing, even in just your hosting.
Yeah.
Like where did you get that from? Like,
yeah. It is years of practice. I'll say that for sure. I didn't just wake up hosting stuff. But I think the combination, I think I usually combine poetry, the power of what poetry is and the power of what acting is, right? I got into them both around the same time actually in college, right? And I tried my best to combine the theatrics of acting with the raw like honesty and vulnerability of poetry, right? And I think there's something to that where you feel twice as in the moment, you feel twice as real and as connected, because even in acting, you want to create a scene with someone. You have a scene partner, they say, right? Right. So you're never just doing a monologue to no one. Yeah. And even if you are on screen, right, and you're not speaking to anyone, you're still connecting with someone in your mind at least, or in your heart.
Yeah.
So there's always that connection that you need to have with an audience. And I make sure to like create that first. I make sure to connect and see people first and who they are and really take them in. And then I feel like, all right, now I'm going to open up more and be more of myself as much as I can right now and start creating that contract, right? And like, this is it now. We're in it.
Yeah.
We're about to go on an adventure. If y'all want to go, let's do it. Let's make this magic happen.
And you like I said, you did an amazing job. I saw that you was definitely yourself. You was in your space, right? And and it goes to public speaking, right? Like what we're going to teach people is if you're just yourself and just in your space, it just comes out easy. Don't go up there trying to be somebody else, right? You know what I mean? Like don't go up there and try to be Kevin Hart, like comedian, be funny, like 'cause you're not, right? Like just go be yourself, right? And it comes out amazing.
Well, the funny thing you say about that is that sometimes it can help someone get out of their shell by pretending to be someone else, right? So that's the irony of it. It's like, I'm going to pretend to be Brad Pitt, who's I think is the greatest actor or something, and you pretend to be them, and then you can kind of like start connecting with different parts of yourself, which is cool. But it's not always, of course, reliable. It's not always going to be the best thing you can do if you are trying to be yourself, of course. Yeah. But there's like elements to even use that properly. You know what I mean?
It is.
Yeah.
even like when I get up on stage, like, and I go back to I hosted this gala a couple of months ago. And I thought I did a horrible job, but everybody came up to me and no, but it's because I'm a producer, right? So
right.
I overthink everything. It's a different hat. And for 35 years I was behind the camera. Now all of a sudden I'm in front of the camera. I'm doing this. I'm hosting galas now, and I'm like, whoa, like I'm not used to being in front like this. So I thought I did a horrible job, but everybody was like, no, you did a great job. Like,
no, you did great.
Yeah. See, everybody's telling me I did great, and. But I think that's because I was just in my head too much.
But here's the thing. Let me ask this. When they say you did great, did they say anything specific after that?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because that helps. I realize as an artist, when someone just say, hey, good job on that poem. And I'm like, well, what did you like about it? They're like, it was good.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. You know what I mean?
What was good?
I actually like the beatbox, that how you how you introduce
you.
music. I mean, to me, it's a jolt of joy. So it actually allowed me to disconnect and be present and just like really take it in. So I didn't really have to worry about anything. We were just so zoned in. And then actually, as I would see my son and my daughter to the right and the left, they were so engaged, and they're like, "Oh, mom, like." I love it. It's good. But I think that you were able to kind of allow us to be present, to be there, to take it in, and just to feel good. So I definitely like that.
Well, you remind me of a punch writer. You know what a punch writer is?
Yeah,
in the film?
they punch up scripts and make it better. Yeah,
exactly, because you're quick off the hip. With everything on your like when you're hosting, like and you engaging with the audience, and they throw something back at you, and you're quick with it, and it's funny.
Yeah. Even the kids were engaging. Did you see that?
Those
if
kids
you
are
can
hilarious.
have a child,
kids. I love
like
kids.
attention, especially when you're like you hear poetry, you're like, oh man, it's gonna be boring. Not at all. Like it was so interacting. It was so engaging. It was so live, and you definitely were a highlight. My kids are really excited to just meet you. And talk
I love
to you.
when one of the kids, I think it was a girl who asked you, "Do you get paid a lot?" And you had to explain yourself with that. And you was like, so let's go.
This young kid, I was like, man, did your dad tell you to ask me this? Right? I was serious about that.
But you gave a great response, though.
Yeah. I knew how to get serious with that answer.
Yeah,
because an answer like that, right, with money and art and the way we look at money as a society, I know I wanted to give a deeper poetic answer that was more meaningful. So that was great.
But you know what? You proved my point. What I tell everybody all the time. Don't chase money. Chase your passion. The money will always present itself. And I think you've done that in your career. Like you chase your
Yes and no. Let me blow your mind again. Okay. I know we're learning about each other here. Check this out. So there's a thing apparently with art where you eventually have to learn how to monetize it, right?
Well, yeah, true.
And I didn't know that for a while. Like I was just being invited to great events. I was doing open mics, that whole circuit. Shout out to Poetry Lounge too. That was like one of the first open mics I ever went to. And then it was just this kind of thing where I felt like I was just drifting for a while, but I'm having fun. I'm doing great events. I'm getting invited to more things, but I didn't really have a set direction. I didn't really have a set like, oh yeah, I should have a CD by now and books by now and this, then, and start, branching out and performing at these things or festivals. And all right, I need to go after this now and be at the LA Times Book Festival thing. I wasn't thinking that way. And I think there's a gift and a curse to that. Right. And it's like balancing that kind of mentality is not easy because as an artist, we don't really care as much about the business work.
Well, but you know what?
I had to get better at it.
But no, and you're right. But I think you handled it correctly because think about it. If you go to a LA Times Festival or something, you just threw yourself in there, right? Like I said, it could be a curse because you can get up on that stage and do a horrible, and somebody can boo you. That's the end of it. Like it would have took you in the wrong direction, right? Yeah. But you went and followed your passion first. Yeah, obviously, at some point, you got to start thinking about business, right? Even like with us with this, like in 2 weeks is going to be a year for us to do this. We don't get paid.
Happy pre-anniversary.
Oh, thank you. We don't get paid for this, but at some point we have to start thinking about the business aspect of it. But that's because our heart is more of the community, and we want to like spotlight people like yourself, and do this for the community. So it's not about us making money. Right. We're not chasing money here because we both do other things. So I think you did. You went on your path the correct way. Like you chased your passion, and look what it developed into.
Yeah. I hope you tell my dad that, please.
But you know what it was? I think it was the kids saw someone that's doing what they love,
Right.
and is loving what they're doing.
Yes.
And you don't see that a lot. You don't
Right.
hear that a lot. You're always told what? You should be a doctor. They make a lot of money.
Yeah.
You should be an attorney. And then you have sometimes, and I mean, there's some people that love what they do and are probably very wealthy and are doing great, but they're not happy.
Yeah.
And they think that money is happiness, but it's really not.
Right.
So what these, I think, kids saw was like, I want to do what you're doing because you're having fun.
Yeah, he is up there having fun, and kids love that.
And you're loving, and people are here to see you, and I want to be just like you. So I love that, you were able to give them a good answer and not shoot down the possibility of being a great poet.
Right.
And it's soothing the soul too.
Oh my gosh.
So
Thank you for
a lot
that.
of kids don't have happiness,
But being an artist is hard, though.
Yeah.
I actually want to talk about that for a minute.
Thank you for that reminder, by the way. That was great to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that home with me for sure.
You know what I'm saying? You're doing
No,
what
I
you
forget.
love.
I forget sometimes that kids are looking up to me that way.
No,
or
they
that
do.
They have those kind of feelings and thoughts about pursuing art in a different way, or they didn't know poetry could be done like that and stuff like that. That was fun. That was
Well, a
really
lot of
fun to
parents will
hear.
be quick to just kind of shit on their dreams.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's not going to make you any money. Are you going to really be able to support your family?
Have a backup plan.
You kind of right.
Yep.
But it can happen.
Right.
Especially if I'm chasing my dream and I'm doing what I love, and people recognize that. People see that.
Yes.
And we should be doing a lot more of it. just encouraging and telling them absolutely, and I'll be here every step of the way. And if it doesn't work out the way you expected, well, we can always go back to the drawing board.
Right. The jobs are the 9-to-5s aren't going anywhere. Yeah.
They're not.
I hear you.
They're
Well
not.
said.
A
Thank
lot
you
of
for that.
people will not bet on themselves when that should be the first thing that we do.
Woo!
We should bet on ourselves regardless. Regardless
snaps.
of,
Those are snaps, by
of
the
what
way,
it
for those
is.
that
You
are-
know what I'm saying?
Or listening on Spotify. Yeah.
But there's so many successful people that, even for example, Justin Bieber was discovered through a YouTube video.
Usher found him, right? Yeah.
You know what I'm
something crazy.
saying? Yeah. It's like he just uploaded a video and did what he loved. And there you have it. The rest is history.
Done.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of actors and business owners, they didn't start till they was like late 40s, like Samuel L. Jackson. He didn't start till he was really old. And look at him now.
Yeah.
It's never too late to do anything.
Never too late.
Yeah. There's always a backstory. First I was this, and now I'm doing what I love. You know what?
And even the 60s or 70-year-old woman that played one of the elders in Black Panther, that was one of her first films she ever did. And now she's part of cinematic history.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's amazing stuff. So yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off earlier. But of course.
No, because I just want to touch on because being an artist is difficult and it's hard, right? Because a lot of people think it's supposed to be instant. They see what's on TV and they be like, okay, and they look at people like yourself on stage. Oh, I could do that, right? But it's not. It's an art form to it, and it's a passion you have to put into it. But what was some of the adversities you had to go through?
Oh my gosh.
Now I know it's a lot because I know you're an artist, but what was one of the biggest ones that you had to go through?
And I'll give two. I'll give two real quick. Because one, there tends to be among a lot of artists that imposter syndrome feeling. And it creeps up on you out of nowhere, or it comes in different forms, or it can appear as just something you don't expect it to be even. And so, the idea of letting your light shine and things like that, all those beautiful cliches that we hear sometimes don't work if we don't think our light is even worthy to shine. Right? Or we don't think that something we have is special enough to offer for whatever reason, or someone else is already doing comedy. Why would I do comedy?
Right.
And all the different ways that shows up. So that's been a consistent kind of feeling, but I see it now and it doesn't affect me as much for sure. I think I told my parents a while back, I said, if I have to end up homeless on a park bench doing this art, I'm going to be doing that. I was at that level of commitment up at least 10 years ago, if not more. And at the same time, those thoughts will still happen, even with that level of commitment. Every now and again, but just for shorter periods of time, thankfully. And I think the other hard moments are are when I think I'm doing something right in working with an organization or a school or a program or something, and then some of the bureaucracy or the certain types of personal agendas that start falling into play happen, and I don't know how or why they're happening, but it's like racially insensitive, or it's offensive to me as an artist, or there's negative assumptions about me, and that was hard, especially when it was from someone that I cared about and I loved and respected as a fellow artist and professional. And I'm doing this in the most respectful way I can to talk about it, because I haven't really talked about it often, but it was a very hurtful kind of experience to do this one job I did. And it was, like I had trouble sleeping a few nights, to be honest. I had trouble connecting with even that group in my past again when this friend of mine did this and started accusing me of things or thinking I'm pitting other artists against them and things like. It was very paranoia, like a very paranoia driven, but also, like I said, there was a touch of that feeling of like, if it's not racism, damn, I don't know what else it is. Right. Like I wasn't sure. And even not knowing the cause of something can be damaging when you're imagining the worst as an artist, or because our imaginations are amazing. So like we can imagine horrible things really well. And so to work through that, to still kind of remember that he's a human being and remember that he's going through stuff as well. And this friend, I could say that, they had kids, and I remember vulnerably speaking that he also was having problem with his kids and things like that at the time. So I tried my best to remember that there were moments like that where, so communication and him and kids not wanting to talk to him, and losing touch with his kids is maybe that's also having an impact on how we're communicating and his overall frustration with this project and this thing and this thing. And thankfully I saw him get, equally upset sometimes with two other artists that we were working with. And so it stopped feeling personal as much. And I was able to see more clearly and kind of just keep my distance in a healthy way. And thankfully, with the students and the kind of people that our audience was, it didn't impact them, not too negatively, thankfully. But it was all a beautiful growth kind of experience at the end that we made sure to turn it into, at least. And I really learned about how hard bureaucracy can be. That was my first toughest lesson I've ever had in that. It was a number of years ago. And it made me more mindful also of how to approach issues and communication problems with other artists that I care about and respect, and to take care of those sooner than later.
Right.
Because this one, I was told by other people in power to like not pursue that or let it go, or just let them drive the boat, or drive the ship. And if you are feeling unsafe on a ship that someone else is driving, you're gonna want to get your lifeline and jump off that thing, And multiple people wanted to quit on this project because of this individual, and thankfully we all kind of even gathered together on that mutual trauma and that mutual pain. A lot of trauma bonding, y'all. Yeah, that's a thing. That phrase, trauma bonding. I use it plenty now that I understand it. And it was, and overall, I just want to say it was overall that kind of experience that I know now I needed to have to become a better leader. That's the tougher part to admit. It's like, if that was really easy to handle, or if I just, jump ship, or if I didn't speak my piece at the end to the higher powers that be and all that stuff, I would have felt worse. But when I spoke out and I finally let everything out, then I had documents saved, y'all. I had screenshots saved of this offensive. I came correct. You know what I mean? I had the audio saved. I was like, thankfully there was things that we had recorded as a class and all that stuff. And it was like great. Like it was great to be able to actually come through on getting justice for myself. Right. That was big. To feel like you're doing right by yourself to get justice was great. Yeah.
No, and that's good that you're speaking up, because so many people just kind of will take it and think that that's normal and allow it to continue and not really heal from that. But, as individuals, we should speak up for ourselves or express what you're feeling, or like what Mike was saying, you know, kind of rephrase what you were saying and reframe, and try to see if that's exactly what was happening. But it could be something else. It could be something in their personal life that it might not really be what they were wanting to say or feel. It just happened to be the circumstance. But if we're not talking, we're not healing, and we're not growing, you know, and it's not a forever thing, but sometimes we allow it to be our normal, you know, and continue to kind of just keep them and store all of that negativity. So how do we express it? How do we know how to put the right words? Right.
Yes, that's big. Like, and even if you can't find the right words, at least you can find advocates maybe, or that's why HR is important, right? Poetry helps you find that. But I mean, keep trying to find the right words is what I always recommend. Keep trying. Or
even journaling. We always suggest journaling. That's a good way of kind of getting it out. Write it down and then revisit it and read it and be like, oh, maybe it was also me that was, that's interpreting it, right? Okay, I might have been tripping. Okay, yeah, I was tripping.
That's a funny, what I mean? Whenever you revisit and you're like, wait a minute, I did that part? Oh my God, I forgot I said that. Or whatever. Yeah, that's amazing. And, and you're also reminding me to remind us all that, like, we got to do it. Like, we can say, let's journal. Hey, you should write. But, like, believe it. Believe that it's going to do something. And I feel like so many of us will be watching this or listening, and we're like, oh, that's nice. That's just nice. You know, or like, yeah, I should do that one. Like, I want to remind, we can do that today. Like, if you've been wanting to write or you've been wanting to do something, like, please start. Like, start right now. I don't care if you have to turn this off for a second, push pause, continue listening afterwards. Right. But, like, you know, even one of my poems I have is about writing now. Right now. And I play with the, like, right now, like that whole word play on it. And it's something that I think is so underratedly powerful when we actually apply what we're thinking in the moment and do it. And just do it. Like, do it. Like, just make, right now, go. Right. Stop messing around. Stop overthinking it. Yeah. Go right now. Go to a park, wherever you need to go. If you say, I need to only write in a park, go to a park. How come you ain't going to a park yet? Yeah. You know, like, get to that park, homie. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what? It's
got me all excited.
Because you're hitting it right on the point. And when I was younger, I never liked writing or reading. Math was my biggest thing, right? Yeah. And I never liked talking about anything. I held everything in. And it wasn't until I got older and when I was married, my wife was telling me my ex-wife, she was telling me I needed to go to therapy. And at first I was like, I ain't gonna go. But I finally went, right? Because I wanted to, I started to have this growth mindset. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? Let me go.
Heck yeah.
I actually went. I said, let me go prove her wrong.
Right.
I don't have anger management.
I'm not angry about this. Let me go.
Like, you have anger problems. No, I don't. I'm gonna go and prove to you. I'm gonna go see this therapist.
He came back and he's like, you right.
Yeah. There's a little problem right there.
Angry. I love angry.
But they taught one thing he taught me is you never hold things in because it never goes away, right? It never dies. And he had this quote and I forgot it. But it's something similar like the longer you hold it in, the bigger the explosion. At some point, it's going to come out. And the longer you hold it in, the bigger the explosion. And he was literally talking about me. And every time I held things in, there was an explosion. It was a huge explosion at some point. And I started to really think, looking back, like, oh, shit, I caused that. Because if I would have talked about it in the beginning, right? Yes. And it wasn't until, honestly, about, I want to say 5-6 years ago, I really started reading. And I used to do audiobooks. Never liked picking up a book. I talked about this last time. Once I started putting a book in my hand and started reading, like a lot of things started to make sense to me. The first book I read all the way through, it was probably the second book, was called Buddha in Your Mirror. This book was so amazing to me. I done read it 5 times already. Dang, nice. Like, things. Then I started reading other books about, spirituality and just, energy. I'm into energy, meditation and all that. Like, things started to make sense. And then one of my executives taught me one day, write things down. Because I always thought I knew everything, right? Yeah. It's like, Mike, you got to write it down. So I started writing things down, right? And then I still kept forgetting things, right? He was like, Mike, I told you the right thing. I was like, dude, I did. It's right here. And I started showing him my notebook. He was like, okay, but once you write it down, you got to actually go back and read it. But it's true. Like I started off.
that all the time.
Right.
No, it's true. Like I started writing real simple stuff, like what I want to do today. I started doing like 10 to 15 things, like, right? Even if you don't get through it, you're writing your thoughts down. You're writing, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. Like simple things. Just start with simple things. Then I started getting into writing. I'm actually writing 2 books right now.
Come on now.
I never liked to read or write. Now I'm in the middle of writing 2 books because now I start journaling. I start writing down my thoughts and all that stuff. So reading and writing, I wish I would have learned this as a kid.
I know.
They kind of taught you that in school.
Yeah, right.
I know. We gotta let that go. Just forgive yourself now for it. It's okay. You're good.
You know what? But I was more focused on numbers.
Right,
I'm
right.
great with math and numbers.
That's a gift too, man.
That's a gift.
My
yeah.
gosh.
I was the numbers guy, but I wish I would have like started all this earlier because man, the knowledge that I'm getting now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Knowledge is power.
It is. So I mean, you're right. I mean, if people would just start writing now, just the simple things.
Simple things. Yeah.
Simple things.
And I think even when you're describing the list or different things you can write journally, I remember learning about how poetry and writing about something maybe that you're emotional about or something like that, you're activating both parts of your brain, and it's occupying that same space in there that causes like a kind of alignment and focus and concentration that's really special. That's really like central. And I think that's part of where that peace comes in. When I talk about world peace through inner peace a lot and utilizing poetry to tap into that. And so I feel like I finally found the scientific reason for that, you know, with that kind of explanation. And I just, like, I won't get tired of recommending that. Like, people, I hope you get tired of me, like, telling you to write until you do it, because that's what I think a lot of people don't realize is such a simple fix, a simple heal, a simple creative fun thing. I've hosted like poetry open mics at people's homes, you know, and they're all having a great time. And they didn't know they could have a great time with a piece of paper and a pen. And just like 3 or 4 people, you know?
You know, I think I've said this multiple times, and I'm like, I'm gonna continue to just keep preaching stuff. I mean, we as humans, we make things difficult. Like life really is simple. It's just not easy. Like that's one of my favorite isms. I got a good friend of mine. She texts me like once every other month, and she stated, "Mike, I still don't get it." Because I always tell her, life is simple, not easy. We make it difficult. She's like, life isn't simple. I was like, no, life is really simple.
It really is.
It's just not easy.
You know what? I'm gonna challenge that a little bit. I'm gonna add to it. I'll add to it more than challenge. It's the specifics, I think, we're talking about. So the things that we learn negatively or the things we have to unlearn make it difficult.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think we as humans necessarily inherently sometimes make things difficult, but like there's that idea that however we learn something or was brought up makes it difficult.
Well,
right?
no, you're right. And I've talked about this before. We're all from the we system, right? As a family, like your name was given to you. Right. You didn't choose your name. Everything that you known from the time of your birth up until, you know, whenever you decided to go to the I system, it's something your family, your aunt, your cousins, your surroundings, whatever your environment was given to you. Everything that you knew was given to you. Right. And at some point you break away from that and you become the I system. Right. You start learning, oh no, that don't make sense. I'm gonna do it this way. So you graduate from the we system to the I system. Yeah. And I think that's what you're talking about right now, that unlearning.
Yeah, that's actually your psychological safety.
Yeah.
And we're not taught that you have choices. You know, like you were saying, growing up, you were never, that's what we're going to eat, you know, and you get later on in life, you're like, I really don't like eggs. Why am I eating them? Well, because I've been giving them, you know, we have to eat this all the time. But what we teach in the workshops at the high schools is that psychological safety. That you can make that choice, you know, like, and you do have that power, you know, if you want to wear 2 right shoes, wear them. That's your prerogative, you know, but you're always told like, no. So that's why I continue to tell people, ask yourself this, is this a hell yes, or is this a hell no? Exercise that.
Yeah.
Utilize that in every aspect of your life. You know, from the clothes, from the food, from the relationships, from the job, even from the things you watch on TV. You don't have to sit there and watch it. You're choosing to sit there and watch it.
And it goes even, you know, like I've always taught my kids, because I really believe this, like, I'm not responsible for your happiness. Ooh. I'm going to give you the tools and the guidance, but the decisions you make today is what's going to shape you, who you are tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be me. Yeah. I'm not responsible for your happiness. I'm responsible for your well-being and all that, and as a parent to guide you. But ultimately, it's going to be your decision how you grow up and how you want to live your life. Yeah. I tell my kids that all the time.
Interesting. So do you give them birthday parties?
I used to, not no more.
What?
Yeah.
I did not.
I'm so big on that. I'm huge on birthday
Well, first of all, my daughter's 21 and my son's 26.
Okay, that's a little different. That's a little different.
I don't have babies. No.
I'm like, you're never. No.
I have babies.
I'm like on the flip side of him. I think you're never too old for birthday parties.
Right,
one.
Right.
And for his last birthday, you didn't want to do anything. You didn't, and I had to kind of tell him, wait a minute. The day that you were born, that's God's gift to humanity. Mm. So how can you not celebrate that?
You know what?
You remember that?
This is funny.
I like how you're getting the finger pointing.
On my last daughter's birthday, her 20th birthday, me and my ex-wife was married for 25 years and we're great friends, right? So we joke around with our kids a lot. We were sitting at her house and it was Kira's 20th birthday. And I brought her a present. I still give my kids gifts. Oh, but Nina was like, why are we celebrating the kid's birthday when it was us for 20 years doing all the work? Like, she was like, it should be our birthday. Like, we should be getting the parties.
Yeah, oh no. I'm so big on birthday parties.
Like, you know what I mean?
You gotta celebrate.
We did this for 20 years.
No.
You should have saw the look on my daughter's face, though. She was like, no.
No, we ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Today is
Y'all
my
can have
day.
your parenting party another day. Okay.
Are you big on celebrations since your birthday just passed?
I'm still celebrating my birthday.
That's right.
Mine was April 10th, but I'm still having 3 or 4 friend gatherings. I think in an arcade. I'm trying to organize a movie, like hangout. 1 or 2 more house parties maybe. And not like house party, but like, house gatherings. Okay.
Yeah.
I did that. When was it? Earlier in
birthday? Yeah.
Oh, I did it at April. Shit, she's gonna kill me. Beginning of my girl. No, I threw her a bit. No, I like throwing parties.
Yeah.
I threw her a huge birthday party. It was supposed to be a little gathering, but that turned into a huge birthday party at my house.
No, I do that for kids.
I love having parties. I'll give somebody a party.
So my joke was, though, it was that happiness. I'm not responsible for their happiness, but happy birthday, right? Happy birthday party. That was my connection there.
Okay.
I don't know. I hope it was funny. I don't know.
No, we're big, and not only that, but celebrations for other people, for anything. Yeah. We have to remember to be playful. We have to remember to celebrate, even for the littlest things. Yeah. For a new job, for a new shoe, for a new car, for a new achievement. Even just to get to the gym when you don't do anything for yourself. I don't think we know how to really celebrate. We don't know how to be happy anymore, I think.
Wow.
I think we're better at critiquing what we're not doing, what we haven't done, or even if someone's happy and celebrating something, it's like, why do they always have to celebrate their birth? Because they're happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These are things that are healthy for our well-being. Mm-hmm. We got to be able to just kind of show up.
Well, I like celebrating.
Well said.
Yeah. I like celebrating.
Oh, I do too.
I like the way you said that.
Yeah.
I like celebrating.
I'm trying to look. Today's April 14th. Today's April 14th. Mm-hmm. In 4 days, it's going to be, I joke with my girl about this because we just got together, right? Aww. It's going to be, I joke with her, I said, your 90-day probation is going to be over with on the 18th.
Stupid. 90-day probation. She's
how it works, you get a 90-day probation. So I said, after that, we're going to be official.
There you go.
Did she laugh at that?
Yeah. Oh, my girlfriend is very sarcastic. So I
okay.
All the time.
So y'all got that humor.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We're actually celebrating 18 years of relationship. We'll be celebrating 17 years of marriage.
Wow.
I'm trying to convince Marcy that we've been together 3 years.
Yeah. Good.
Because
How's
we
that
met
going?
3 years ago.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. Me and Marcy, see, that's the thing. Me and Marcy actually met 3 years ago. And we tried to date back then. It just, we both was in just different spaces, right? But we did like each other. And we remained friends. We didn't force it into where we forced it and it didn't work and we didn't talk to each other. We let it like die out, but we remained friends. We even went out a couple of times, through these couple of years. But she keep dismissing the fact that, no, we haven't known each other that long. I'm like, Marcy, we know each other 3 years. She's trying to erase. She's like, yeah, but we wasn't talking the whole 3 years. So like, we really just kind of like, and I was like, no, you can't just erase time. Like, you can't erase the 2 years. So she's trying to shrink it down to like, no, we probably known each other maybe a year. I'm like, how are you just going to erase 2 years? Like, yeah, I still knew you.
I can see it though. I can see it. You're talking about anniversary of knowing someone, but then is she saying the anniversary of like the continuation of the joy that you both are sharing now?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I get what she's saying too, but you just can't erase time. Though.
You can celebrate both. I'm okay with that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to make it longer.
I mean, that's what I hear, because I might have known people growing up here, but I don't know people because that gives you a gap of years of people evolve, people change. And they can be somebody different.
I said, you knew me, right? Like, when you saw me, you said hi to me. She's like, yeah, okay, then we known each other 3 years.
You're so stupid.
It's not like you didn't. I know
Girl,
me.
your 3 years is coming up.
Oh, happy probation. Happy probation.
Oh, no, I got 4 days.
That's a first, Mike.
I'm gonna give her do they have a Hallmark card for that? I'm gonna go find one.
You could write one. Actually, I'll give a idea for a lot of people to use right now, because I always love writing poetry in cards. Oh, yeah. Right? And I would buy the blank Trader Joe's cards and have something beautiful and fun on the outside, and then write a birthday poem or like a wedding poem to someone or whatever. Like something on the inside that just matters, right? And so you reminded me of that, of like, yeah, you could write happy probationary period. And you could write a poem to her and everything if you want.
Hey.
He said your 90 days are up.
Your 90 days are up. Congratulations.
Happy full time, girl.
Right. I wasn't sure about
all the benefits
you.
now.
Right. I wasn't sure about you at day 30. At day 60, it felt really gritty. But now that we're at 90, I'm feeling like you're my baby. Like, go in. You know?
Why not?
She's gonna love this. She's gonna love this. I always play her the funny part of the interviews. Oh my God. And by the way, she has one of your books. Because the first time we met, she met you. We took a picture together.
Right.
And she bought your book, and she actually told me last month she finally opened it, and she was blown away.
Yes.
And she never read poetry before. She was like, wow. She was like, Mike, Sean, the book that we bought at the poetry, she was like, it's amazing. So she really loves your book.
I'm glad she got through that probationary period of poetry and she opened the book finally. Good job.
I know, right, from 2 months.
At 60 days.
60 days later, she's like, let me open this book.
That's usually how long it takes for people to get interested in poetry, actually. So y'all are hitting on something. Thank you for that.
Oh my God, this is good times, yeah. This is why, people, you have to have conversations.
Right.
You never know what you're going to get, honestly. I tell people, if you can carry a conversation from one topic to another and laugh and cry and have like really heart to heart, like just moments, you're getting somewhere in life.
But you know what? It goes back to what we were just talking about before, about holding things in, right?
Okay, bring it back.
If you just have a simple conversation with somebody in the beginning, right? It's not that hard or difficult. The longer you wait, it becomes difficult, right? Because now you have a lot of emotions that you just built up and saved and tucked in. So that's when the unhealthy conversations start. Because now you have animosity, you have anger, and all this stuff.
I just don't think people know how to, express that. I really feel that people don't know how to have conversations. They don't know how to start if emotion doesn't take over.
And when you say people, let's get specific to it. What's the percentage of people you're talking about?
I think that's general. I mean, with my husband, we have a great communication. Even, for example, this morning, there was something up, and instead of doing other things, I actually said, do you want to talk? Like, we should talk. And then after that, he goes, I love that about you. That it's just not, just, I don't know, intimacy or whatever it could be. We're just talking.
I love that.
But what's funny is I was just telling Marcy this the other day. Me and my ex-wife Nina, like when we was married for 24 years, we rarely talked about our feelings or anything.
No.
Now that we're just friends and like raising our kids, like even our kids are older, we still like help. We communicate way better now.
Yeah.
But that's because we both, grew and we understand the importance of communication.
No, but I tell like couples all the time, like once your kids move out, let's say you're always busy, your excuses, oh, it's because the kids always have okay, they're going to grow up and eventually move out. Then what?
Right.
Are you even going to know your partner, things that have happened along the way? Like, do you tell each other what happens, at work? Do you communicate, if you're struggling, if you had a rough day or you have a conflict with, a coworker? That should be the person that you're kind of navigating through those emotions. Like, or, and they're able to give you a different perspective. Well, maybe they're just struggling at home. Maybe they have an issue with their wife or their kids or, are drinking. You really don't know what that other person's going through. And unfortunately, maybe you caught them on a wrong day. And maybe that's why they had attitude. But if you're not having these conversations and just expressing what you're feeling or what you're going through, like how is anyone going to ever kind of know what you're going through? So that's why I'm so big on conversations. You never know where a simple hello will go, even in the grocery store. That really might make somebody's day. Really like, hey, how you doing? I love your hair. Whatever it may be. And maybe you had a shitty day that day and someone's like, oh yeah, that's right. I do got the hair going. A simple hello really goes a long way, y'all.
No, and that's one of the biggest things that Marcy and I have. We talk about it a lot. Like we have to keep open conversation, no matter how hard you think it may be. Like we have to talk about it.
Yeah. Y'all, I love how y'all are just oozing about these relationships you're in. This is beautiful.
I think I've been through a lot. I've been through 2 long relationships, so I know what's important at my age now. What works and what doesn't work. And I know communication is huge.
But it's not even relationships. I think that's just in life, even with kids.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not having a conversation with maybe a nephew or a niece or just a child that, you might do workshops with, you're never going to know what they're really going through or what their experience are or how to even put that emotion on paper. If you're not even having a conversation or say, hey, how was your day? How is school? What's your favorite subject? What are the things that you like to do? Just create that, that conversation, and you're going to really know a lot about that person from just simple questions. So it's important, and a lot of people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to pick up the phone anymore and be like, what's up? What did you do today? You know what I mean? But
you know what? I guess what I'm hearing in the way you're saying it is like they're not doing this, and y'all need to be doing it. Why aren't you doing it? Kind of feeling, instead of like having that more compassionate curiosity, like my friend likes to say, of being like, why? Literally, why aren't you doing it? Is everything okay? Like to even ask, hey, do you have a trouble with wanting to talk or anything like that? Can we talk about that even? A lot of people, I feel like there's so many insecurities in this world that are overwhelming. That are overwhelming, y'all. There are people that literally, like you said earlier, are nervous to walk out the house or nervous to go into a public setting and work out or do something that we take for granted because we have a certain level of comfort. And I think with poetry, it's taught me all the stories in between that I forget about. It shows me so many stories of people that have so much of a harder life than I ever would have imagined that I forget every single day. So it's like, even the way we're talking about, the ironic part is that we're talking about people critiquing people and we're critiquing those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're at that level now, and it's like, wait, no, we don't have to critique them. We can empathize with them. Right?
Exactly. Empathy. Yeah. But even then, if they're not, I guess even feeling comfortable, like, man, I can kind of call you. I know that you're willing to hear me out. Things can be really different, and it's not really to even critique. It's more to encourage.
Okay.
Like it's to encourage, like, hey, create that conversation. call that one person that you've been meaning to call. You really never know what they're going through, or maybe they have something to say, or they just want to be heard.
Right. Well, most people do. They just want to be heard, right? But I think most on the other side, flip side of that, most people don't want to call you and say, like how Arvin was telling us that one day, hey, how you doing? Like they just want to be polite, but they're not really ready for that answer that you're going to give them. And now you got to sit there and like listen to like, oh my God. Like I didn't really want this.
But is that an assumption though?
Yeah.
Are we assuming that they don't?
We
really
are
want that,
assuming,
right?
Yeah.
And then we're preventing real dialogues from happening by assuming the worst of somebody else. When maybe at first maybe they'll be like, oh, I don't know if I can handle this.
Right.
I don't know. But then maybe we say something that sparks something in them, and they're like, oh, okay, no, they genuinely want to talk. All right, no, I remember when we did this back in high school, and now we're connecting again in a new way, and I can do this. I can do this.
Right, but you know, again, if people do assume, right? But if you get out of that mindset and just remember, people sometimes just need to vent for a few minutes. Right. They just want to be heard, and that's why I tell people all the time, call me. A friend of mine called me the other day, and she was like, "I'm sorry, I'm crying." I was like, "No. Call me anytime. I don't care if you're crying. If you need to get something off your chest, I'm here to, again, going back to listening.
Right.
I listened for 10 minutes to her, and she felt so much better afterwards. Just 10 minutes out of my time, like, why wouldn't I do that for somebody, especially a friend? Like, why wouldn't I do that?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Even my mom, sometimes she just calls, she goes, I just wanted to hear your voice. Right. Then I felt bad, I feel bad because I'm in a rush or on this, but that kind of just reminded me, like, I really should just kind of slow down, and just hear her out. All she wanted to do is hear my voice. Gosh. So I guess that's what I'm trying to do, is promote conversations. If you don't have anyone to have a conversation with, write it down.
Yeah, I notice sometimes we project as well, right? And so even you saying that about pick up the phone and call somebody. Maybe, are you saying you need to call your mama?
Yeah. No, you know what? I do actually.
Did you miss her phone call?
Let's call her right now.
I did.
Let's call her live.
I actually popped up on them the other day and they weren't home. And my dad goes, you could have called us.
Yeah.
We would have waited for you. But then the other day we did. But I said, hey, we were just at the store. We bought you guys some watermelon and some papaya. I know you guys like fruit. And then he called me a few days after that. And he was like, hey, that watermelon you got? Like, it was so sweet. And I said, oh, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Dad. And it at least gave us something to talk about. Right. It was a watermelon.
So sweet. Y'all are so sweet.
Yeah, but what we don't realize is that tomorrow's not promised.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're right. Maybe I should be picking up the phone more. And I think we should all be picking up the phone for each other or for our, parents or just anybody.
I'm definitely playing this episode for Marcy.
Oh, heck yeah. This is the Marcy episode. If anything, that's what I'm looking at it as.
No, because you know what? Because she be in a rush all the time, right? Because she does a lot. And she takes care of her. She had a huge family. She takes care of her family. And she loves texting. And I always, I'm trying to get her out of that. I'm like, dude, pick up the phone. Like, I want to hear your voice. I want to ask you, how was your day? I don't want to do it, But she moves so fast. And she's trying to learn to slow down.
Oh, yeah. Or maybe we were at a funeral yesterday for my husband's aunt, and we got together for Christmas, and they were supposed to join us. They live in San Diego, but she sang in the choir, and every year she would, I guess become a part of the service. And we were at her memorial yesterday, and she passed away in January, right? I think it happened in January. And they happened to be having that conversation like, you know what? I'm getting kind of up there in age. I don't think I could, perform on Christmas. Like, actually would like to get together with the family next year for Christmas. They were looking at the pictures. We had a good time. And unfortunately, she didn't make it. But she was one of the aunts that I always look forward to seeing and having great conversations with. And yesterday at the service, I told her daughter, I said, it's weird not to see your mom here. But the fact that we're all together, because of her, to remember her, I guess she is kind of here. But I guess that's why I continue to say that about conversations, because I wish I would have called her, and now I can't. And sometimes that happens with our loved ones, with each other. We could be having this conversation right now, maybe in a few weeks I won't be here. Who really knows? But the fact that we were willing to have this conversation, I'm encouraging people to have conversations, can really change somebody's day, life, future. Not only that, but that moment, that present.
I tell people all the time, stop thinking you have tomorrow or next week, because you really don't know.
You really don't.
You really don't know.
This is important. Not only that, with your poetry, you'll live on forever. Your words, your thoughts will live on forever. Somebody will eventually, after your passing, pick up that book and be like, oh shit, Sean was really saying that. I felt that.
Yeah.
I really needed to hear that. So that's why I love what we do, actually. It's giving us the opportunity to share these conversations, allow you to tell your truth, tell your story. Right. Somebody needed to hear that, or maybe you needed to be here. You brought good energy from the moment you came in.
Sean
Not only for the
great
poppies,
energy.
right?
No, but and this is why I created this show, is because they're timeless conversations.
Yeah.
Like someone's going to listen to this 5-10 years from now and just hear some of the words that you speak, and even that you're going to speak in about 10 minutes, you're going to get some of those powerful poems.
I
figured
words of wisdoms.
No problem.
And you just never know who is going to help. You never know. A word, a saying, a poem. You never know who is going to help at that time.
Yeah. That's the beauty of it with I think just the collective consciousness they call it, right, and knowing to even to imagine actually that ever since there was life on this planet, we've all been looking at the same sun and the same moon. To even feel connected to your entire human race in that one way feels so special sometimes when you can just think about it. And with poetry, I've been affected by poets that have long passed, and to feel really moved by what they've said and what they shared in their stories, and how much, like you said, it's just timeless stories that have been written to these pages. And there's so many different ways we can absorb a story, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a book, right, whether it's a movie, a film, whatever. But I think the point that it feels like you're getting at is to still take it in, to take that time, slow down, take a breath. Breathing, by the way, I will never get tired of talking about breathing.
Yes.
Never. Because it is one of the most universally powerful ways to relieve stress and find peace that we carry with us every single day of our life, and we forget.
Yeah.
And it's like beautiful amnesia to forget that and then remember it again. And remember, oh yeah, I can. Deep breathing, #1 stress reliever in the world.
Yeah.
And we think it's the yoga, we think it's the sex, we think it's the cigarettes or any kind of other inhaling smoke of all these other substances, but actually all those things require deep breath. And I think that's just one of my favorite reminders to give people.
No, and we forget it because, like, I meditate a lot, right? And even like today, I had a board meeting I had to go to this morning, and I got frustrated, and I was texting my girl Marcy, and that's what she said. She's like, "Take a breath." That's all she.
She know what she's talking about.
No, she did.
She
said it's okay. Take a breath. I was like, right. And sometimes we have to be reminded, because when we're in that moment, of frustration and all that, we forget. Just take a breath. So she had to remind me.
Yeah. And even before theater shows, there was always a good director that would say, like, every director that I know that would say this was one of my favorites, and they would say, "Oh yeah, okay, so everyone, we got the blocking. We're about to open night. Open night is gonna be great. Da 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 da. And remember to have fun."
Right.
I'm like, oh, right. That's right. We love doing this. That's right. We love telling stories this way. All right. Why am I so stressed out? I'm like,
Right.
So it's, great reminders that to have fun, take breaths, very simple stuff, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Y'all are great.
It really is.
So tell us about these books real quick
Before
we get into this other stuff.
So, I'm still working on being a better marketer. I'm just, again, the business side. I'm getting better at this.
That's okay.
So these are the top 3 books that I sell at my shows. I'll start off with the anthologies that I'm in. This anthology is called Voices for Animal Liberation, Inspirational Accounts by Animal Rights Activists. And basically there's also a foreword by the president of PETA. And I didn't know, by the way, that the president of PETA in the foreword was going to shout out the poem that I added to this book.
Hey.
It was really like a delightful surprise that she even read my poem. I didn't know she'd do that. So shout out to Ingrid. And basically some of the people from this book, one of them is like an Olympian, Another one is the documentary maker that did Earthlings, which was narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, and a very powerful film about animal rights and just amazing perspectives that you don't normally think about when you think about animals, basically. And these are stories not to convert people. I always want to stress that, but they're stories of how people personally got into activism with animals and animal rights, and how they even connected to different parts of themselves in that journey. And one example is a friend of mine that interconnected being a person of color and a black woman to the respect she found for cows being women as well, and the kind of mistreatment of a cow, sexually as a woman, and how she could relate to that. I was like blown away by these kind of connections that people talked about. So yeah, shout out to all the activists across the country that are doing great work and doing the kind of work that I forget is going on every day, that even protects the dolphins at SeaWorld from being mistreated and things like that. You know what I mean? So just shout out to the entire Voices for Animal Liberation team and the countless people that are in that. Any questions about that, or should I go into the next book?
No, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one was made during 2020. It's called The Year That Changed America. And it was created by a compilation of artists during a workshop that we were doing, that a friend of mine actually got me into. And I was blown away by how beautifully consistent, frequent, and vulnerable all these people were being in this workshop. And then by the end of it, it was months in, they decided they wanted to put everything into a book. And the leader of the workshop, Kevin Powell, he was this guy I had no idea about, but he was on like the Real World, MTV's Real World way back.
Oh yeah.
Y'all remember him?
I know, yeah.
And I didn't know he was like a great poet, and he dove into poetry so beautifully. He's been around for ages now doing poetry. And yeah, he was kind of the spearhead of the whole thing. Okay. And it was made for and made with and made by all the people, all the poets and writers in this workshop.
Nice.
And some of the guest writers that he got into this book were Gloria Steinem, Etan Thomas, Nancy Mercado, Dave Zerwin, Jackson Katz, Jessica Care Moore, shout out to her in a new film as well, Asha Bandel, Tim Wise, Bob Holman, and V, formerly known as Eve Ensler, who did the Vagina Monologues, and Nikki Giovanni. And I was like blown away that I can say now I'm in a book with Nikki Giovanni, who's just, in case y'all don't know, a legendary poet, highly recommend her work. And it basically sums up a lot of the experiences during 2020 and during the quarantine, during all the racism and injustice that was going on. And really, like, it's almost like a sneak peek into that time again, but with a beautiful focus on poetry, on fiction, on journal entries, on blogs and essays of new and previously published authors. Just great. I'm still reading this, actually. I'm still taking in these stories.
Actually, trip out on 2020. It was such a, I guess, it was interesting times. I think it allowed us all to pause, and really see who we are and where we're heading and what we're doing. Yeah. And they take everything away that we thought really mattered. And at that point, we were asked to stay still. And for a lot of people, it really just interrupted their lives in so many foul ways. We were actually doing, food services. And we tripped out because we were out in the streets where no one would even dare to step out. So we would, travel from, here, Palmdale area into Los Angeles, Hollywood, I guess Santa Monica area, and it was empty. There was nobody around.
Really?
Nobody was outside. Nobody existed. But I would tell my husband, that it's almost like we're the only ones that are here, that are present, and the only people that really matter right now. So it was a trip. Like, every time I think about just giving our experiences of 2020, I tell my husband, I wish we would have filmed a lot more. There were some weird people out in the streets though, down in downtown. It just looked like people were just up to some weird ass stuff. You know what I mean? Mobbing through the streets, just walking, and businesses closed.
Right.
And it was just I don't know, out of this world kind of experience.
No, that's LA for you. Like we'll give you a little bit of everything. We'll give you the beauty. We'll give you the randomness. We'll give you the chaos. We'll give you the unknown. Like that is the perfect melting pot. Seriously.
Yeah. The best way to describe it is like in the movie Purge. Like
oh
that.
My gosh.
It was like just walking through the streets, like looking in your car, and it's just us two, with masks, and we're just here to pick up food, man. Wow. We're just here to drop stuff off. And the fear with some of these people, and the fact that they would trust us to come deliver food.
Yeah.
And just the fear. And sometimes they would just pop out, from windows, and it's like, you're scared of me, but I'm bringing you food.
Right.
We'll see you next time. But we got to see some places, in the city that other people wouldn't be allowed to. And so there are these gated homes and, so I don't know. That just kind of brought me back to that.
Wow.
That moment. I guess I had to share that.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry.
Yeah, you did. No worries. No worries. And that's the funny thing about fear, though, you're making me think about is it's not rational. You know? It can be rational sometimes, irrational the next day, the next minute. And I think that's the beauty and the curse of it as well. Fear. It can make us, if we look at it the right way, it can make us do something and push through and and have the courage to get through it. And other times it makes us want to isolate and hole up in our hole, and even isolate when we didn't need to isolate. Now I'm still in the habit sometimes of isolating when I don't need to. Yeah. And that's been interesting to figure out or to kind of reflect on. Yeah.
We actually look forward to it because we would just sit there for hours and just have conversations. So we would go deliver for sometimes even 3 hours. And the whole time we're just talking. Yeah. Going on and on about whatever, and things we would see and people we would come across and whatever. But that was
You probably got some good mementos you could write down still though.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's actually what kind of made me want to be on the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, my husband was like, man, if people would hear the shit we're talking about right now.
What? Okay. We got another episode coming up.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, and the last book, y'all ready? Because this is the doozy right here. This was the first poetry book I had ever published, and it was with two great friends. And my friend Jason Brain, who published this as well, his birthday's coming up on the 27th, and my brother's the 27th as well. C.R. Cohen is the other author as well. 3 poets in one book. Basically, it's kind of like a discussion on poetry and a discussion on what it means to be a poet, or what it means to have this kind of like undying urge to write and to peel the layers away of that. So that first half of this book is that kind of concept, and we go back and forth with the poems. Okay. So you don't really know whose poem you're reading because it's separated by symbols instead of our names, right?
Okay.
And that was like a fun little experimental thing we had to do, right? And then the second half of the book has each one of our own chapbooks, they're called, which is like a miniature poetry book. And so in each chapbook is about maybe, anywhere between 5 to 10 poems each author. And those are kind of like separated like stories and deliveries of our own thoughts and ideas and, different fun poems that we wanted to include in this book. And I think I'll say that in terms of world peace through inner peace, this is a book that I feel like would help people get that. This is one of those projects that I've done where all of it's contained. Between this and my album, I would say, if you're not able to tap into your own inner peace at the end of it, then I failed you as an artist. Right. If you're not able to tap into all the things that you're passionate about in this world that you want to give back or you want to give to yourself even, then I'll give you a hug and a refund. Like something has to move in someone. I think if they really take in what we put down as artists in this book and what I put down also in that CD, because it was such a condensed, like everything in my life that I was going through at that time. Like one of the poems was inspired by Katrina, for example. And I tried to put all the best world-solving type of solutions into all these poems. And so that's really what I want to give with each one of my poems, is like a slice of life, sure. Like I know a lot of poets do slices of life and very personal stuff that feels therapeutic maybe for people. And then at the same time, I know I wanted to focus more on solutionary type of thinking, solutionary type of poems, where you're gonna go through some rocky stuff maybe in the middle or the beginning of the poem, but you're gonna end with strong solutions of what to do in life or with your mind or with your heart.
Nice.
Guaranteed your money back.
So where can they get these books?
Oh, if you want it signed, you can reach me on Instagram, and I could set that up for you. But it's on Amazon. It's on, I think two of the anthologies are in Barnes and Noble. This one, I'm pretty sure it might be in Barnes and Noble. I'm not sure. But yeah, I like signing it and putting a little personalized poem. So in case y'all like that, it's a little bit of a more effort instead of just putting your credit card through. But I'm happy to like ask people questions and like, oh, what do you want? What do you want me to sign this about? Or what do you want to feel more of this year? And I'll make a short poem instead of just signing my name on it.
That's
what I mean?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. I like that you like it. Yeah.
Wait, you're forgetting one more.
And this isn't like a book, but it's my first magazine that I was ever published in. Actual, like, you can touch it, like, magazine. It's crazy.
More than words.
Yeah, it's the men's issue of South Bay Magazine that covers, like, El Segundo, Hawthorne, parts of Inglewood, I believe. And it talks about my story of poetry, but also, I'd say, the story of this event that was a fundraiser for cancer survivors and their families called the Tour de Pierre, which is coming up in May. And I've been invited back multiple times now, and they're just a great organization, great fundraising. And the Hirschberg Foundation was also part of it. And so, yeah, I talked about, what it was like from both my parents that have cancer and things like that. And it was really personal, really great storytelling. Monica Orozco, shout out for the cover art. And I think if anything, yeah, it was interesting to share stories and feel like I'm actually being listened to in like a published way.
Okay.
Yeah, like Amber Klink she's been doing this for a while, and even the concepts of these pictures and everything.
I see that.
I had to pull out my Idris Elba. I had to pull out,
Okay.
I had to really work on these poses, y'all. This was not easy. And it was it's like an official type of feeling, I think, to really share your story in such an official way.
Right.
Yeah.
And also make sure that you have the healing of people at the forefront. Like I think that's where kind of that disconnect we've talked about throughout this is happening also, is we can get caught up in these things that we think are life, but we forget that without any of us here, this life would be boring as hell.
Okay.
And it's not as fulfilling. You can have a big, beautiful home, but if no one's in it to make it joyful and enjoy yourself in
What's
it,
the
even,
point?
what is the point?
Right.
So yeah, if we're not here for each other, I don't know what we're doing here, basically.
Yeah. Well, we're social creatures.
Absolutely.
We should be, living with each other, engaging with each other, having conversations with each other. And if you don't have anyone to talk to, there's always animals.
Word.
Like they'll be the happiest to ever see you, honestly.
It's like the third time. You just emotionally
you know what
hit
I
me.
mean? Well, like you were saying, animals have feelings too.
100%.
They might not be able to tell you what you want to hear, but they'll at least give you some sort of love, some kind of understanding, like, I feel you.
They totally would. And
Yeah,
pigs
you
are
do.
as smart as what? 3-year-old babies and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like when you learn these things, so much more humanity you would give to an animal, which is ironic, right? We give
Yeah.
humanity to other creatures, right?
Right.
Beautiful concept.
I did feel guilty actually going out to the poppy fields with
talk
my
about
dogs
it.
instead of
Talk
the
about
kids.
Yeah, you did?
I'm like, I
Little
did.
guilty.
I took Bella. I know. I thought to myself, like, oh shit, yeah.
Let's end this with your words of wisdom.
All
I
right.
mean, not your words of wisdom, but your crush your goals.
All right,
Crush
so
your goals.
here's our
Crush
crush
your
your goal
goals.
for today, and it says, I found that every time I ask for permission, the answer tends to be no. So I had to make my own yeses. You know what I'm saying?
That really speaks on what we're talking about.
Okay.
She does this
For
all
whatever
the time.
reason, it always lines up.
It does. And that is exactly.
It's not a hell yes. It needs to be a hell no.
Yeah. And that goes back to, I think, to one of your points earlier. You were saying something about, doing things. And like for me, right? Like, remember I was saying that I never was in the front of the camera. So when I decided to do this podcast, I was hesitant at first because I never liked being in front of the camera. right? But for 2 years during COVID, I was doing like Zoom meetings for like 100, 200 people. I was doing mindset training. Yeah. And so I was comfortable with talking to people on Zoom. But when I started this podcast, I was like, are people really want to hear what I got to say? But people actually, it got me realizing that a lot of people was responding to me saying, hey, Michael, we love what you're doing, right? Even like shout out to, what's his name? Adam Staley. You know, from the Civil Air Patrol, gave me this thank you card for being on the show last week. You know, and right. So it's little things like this, right? Yes. And I've been getting little things like this for a few years now. Even with doing my Zoom meetings, people are like, Mike, wow, thank you. You know, even if it was just one or two persons saying, wow, I really connected with what you were saying, like, and I appreciated it. And I was like, wow, that's why I say, like, any conversations are so important because you never know who it's going to touch. Even if it's just one sentence you said or one phrase, like you never know that someone might just like click. No matter if you say something 100 times, maybe that 101 time is going, oh, wow. Or they heard it 100 times, right? Yeah. But if you said it, it made sense to them. Right. I actually had this lady talk to me when I was doing my mindset training, because I was with one of my mentors. And he had a group of people, right? I think he had like 2,500 people and I had like 200 people. My group was much smaller, but I was a part of his bigger group, right? Okay. And somebody from his group, it was an older lady, lives in New York. She's a huge following of mine, friend of mine now. She told me one day, and she was like, Mike, you know what? I love, even though you and Clay say the same thing, she was like, I relate to you. And it was funny because she was like, you speak funny, but I understand you. And I was like, that wasn't a compliment.
You funny.
You know what I mean? But it made sense. Like me and him, we both said the same thing, right? But she understood what I was saying. I love this. But she was just like, you speak funny, but I understood you. She was like, I don't understand him because he talks in a different way. Right. You know, but we would always say the same thing. And that's what we was trying to teach people in our mindset thing. It was like, you could connect to certain people. That's why you had different artists, different poets, different singers, and we connect to different people. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, and so from that, it made me to continue to do those Zoom meetings. And so when I was approached to do this podcast, I was like, you know what? No, I am going to do it because somebody might connect to me one time. Absolutely. It might not be today. It could be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. You never know. Yeah.
And I love the switch you had, by the way, where you realize it's about the person, right? Because some of it's ego at first, where we're like, oh, the camera's on me. Yeah. But when you're like, oh, yeah, that camera is just a tool that's helping me reach people, I could downplay the importance of that tool. Right. So I love that you got that, and the acknowledgement. Acknowledgement could be like a whole nother episode y'all do, by the way. Because acknowledgement makes me feel like I'm not crazy. Acknowledgement, when I'm here and I'm talking to y'all and I can see your head nodding or the eyes blinking at the least, I'm like, okay, they're acknowledging my existence here. We're exchanging this all these acknowledgement gestures of like, all right, yeah. And it just feels so amazing when it's condensed into words onto that thank you card. And you're like, wow, someone took the time to do this and then send it to me. Or if they put a postcard thing on it, or the post stamp, whatever. You're like, wow. And you feel even more of that wave of acknowledgement. So I'm glad you got that. I'm 100% glad you got that. No,
it's beautiful. Like I said, when I was doing those Zoom meetings, I got a few emails, you know, because it was during COVID. And it made me realize that, wow, my voice actually matters. And there's 8 billion people in the world. And if I can touch one, like we always say, if we can touch one person, it's all worth it. And I've gotten a few of these, and it's like, that's why it's so worth it to me. And that's why we do what we do. Like I said before, we don't get paid for this. We enjoy doing this because we know the importance of it. Like it's all about the people we bring on. Yeah. It's about our listeners, somebody that can be listening to this on Instagram. You never know who's listening to this. You never know who's listening to you. Yeah.
Like Sean Hill exists, y'all.
Yeah.
He exists. You know?
No. Well, come on. So now we're waiting for Sean Hill's words of wisdom in poet form.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I brought a couple pieces of shit.
Well, and that's why I put a new battery in.
New battery.
Because
you're good.
This is gonna be your show right now.
All right, deal.
Yes.
Yeah. I already just want to say y'all are my people. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I open mics like autopsies, commune with perspectives like dissected organs, absorbing the truth within every story until I needed a sedative. I became bored with the negatives, lyrically spliced life was much like rolled dice and practice true positivity till I became immune to negativity like oranges with vitamin C, breaking hinges off the door if you invited me to a pity party, hardly a force to be reckoned with, infected with so much positivity, I pee pet peeves until my pee is seen clearly. So positive, even the negatives in my mind added a line just to become a plus sign to stop opposing and grow with me. Even my fears want to hang out sometimes and I hug them until they can cope with the scope of non-existence. It's just what happens when a focused mind has way too much time to think, and I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. My name is Sean Hill, and I'm pleased to meet you. This is just the first poem that I'm rapping. I'm just a baby waking up from his napping, learning how to walk and talk this life from writing with chalk and concrete to rocking with break beats. Hip-hop became my training wheels to the point where I could speak, so forget about doing hip-hop. I pop and lock and then eat hip-hop. I am what I speak, and if you are what you eat, then I am hip-hop. Reincarnated, never to be the best. But I'm not trying to be nothing less than myself. So help me or not, my throat is on fire. I don't mean to burn you. I'm just breaking shackles like Nat Turner, but believe equality like Gundy. See, I'm not a peace Nazi. The paparazzi couldn't stop me from getting the scoop like Cold Stone. I'm home alone in the zone like, oh, fellow. Hello, is anyone out here? If I scream and no one hears me, do I make a sound? Check marks the box. Like it or not? I don't need your approval for this to be hot. And if it's ice cold, well, I honestly don't know and don't care. But to be fair, I care if it's true. So let's play out the facts. I got your back like chiropractors. I want to be in your scene like the best actors. Hey, your DNA is beautiful. Let me be the X factor. But I got to get going eventually, so please don't miss me. I'll be back before you know I'm gone. I want to bring you songs better than fairy tales and nightingales. So I'm getting on tracks like John Henry and offend me. Almost impossible. It wouldn't be logical. It's more probable to turn your energy into something possible like world peace. And even then, many say that's highly unlikely, like a lock without a key, but I bend reality. We can all bend reality. We can turn the improbable into the everyday ordinary.
Hey.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
Hey.
You did that the last time you was out here.
I did.
I remember that poem.
That's my signature piece for sure.
Okay.
It's called Optimistic Incisions.
Wow.
Yeah, and it feels good every time, y'all. It's my own affirmational piece. It's my own reminder of what I want to accomplish in this world and what I'm doing. I always recommend to all artists to have a mission statement, you know, and that's one of my funnest mission statements I've ever made. Easily. And I think, yeah, if anything, if there's any other questions about that piece, I'll go into another one.
Well,
What's up?
Because I want to ask you this too.
Talk to me.
You talk about let's bend reality.
Yeah.
Because that's your IG handle. Talk about that. Like, what is let's bend reality?
So a lot of people, a lot of us, if not everyone probably at some point, we've all felt like the world is the way it is. Mm-hmm. This world was given to us the way it is, like we said, the we, right?
The we system, right?
And in terms of what it is now, a lot of us just think, oh, that's the way the world is. That's the way politics is. That's the way religion is. That's the way people are. That's the way. And my reminder has been every inventor, every creator, every artist, all these people that were world changers or world thinkers even, were changing our scope of reality.
Right.
They were changing what reality means to us. The idea that we were able to put a computer in a phone was not around a long time. You know, the idea that the sun was the center of the universe, right? All these kind of things shifted our reality. So why not remind ourselves that we can change our own reality? Why not remind ourselves, you know what, everything we're feeling right now, whether it's pain or depression or whatever kind of low feelings we're having, we can change that reality.
Right.
Whatever you want to be in life, like y'all know, you can change that reality.
Exactly.
Whatever you're trying to achieve or go for, whatever you're inspired to do next, change that reality. Let's do it. You know? And it's my most fun, like, passionate way of saying that. I think a part of me might have been inspired because I think around the time the Avatar: The Last Airbender TV show with the with Aang, you know, and all them. I think that might have subconsciously played into it too, because they're airbenders, firebenders, waterbenders, right? Yeah. So there's that nerdy fun part of me also that has like, it's a feeling like a superhero, superpower kind of feeling, you know, that we can bend reality.
Right.
And I try to make it
I love that.
as like powerful as possible, that we can remember that we can
Do you have that in audio form?
Yeah, that's on my CD. That's the first track on there.
Okay. I love
Absolutely.
That. I need to get that. I need to grab that.
Yeah, you do.
Yes. No, I will. You do. I am. 100%.
100%. 200% then.
1,000%.
5,000,000%.
As long as it don't cost me $5,000.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I keep it the $10 level. You know? And also, in the sake of like freeness, like we talked about, I was brought up in the theater community also of knowing like, you know, art was meant to be free and like all that like anti-money for so long. And then to get to a place where I can still do both, right? Where I'm like, all right, I can charge people for it if they want, and it's on iTunes and all that stuff. But on Bandcamp is where you can listen to it for free. I made sure to put it and set it to the settings where you can listen to it for free. If you just need some inspiration and you can't afford it, you know what I mean? A lot of my stuff online is free as well on YouTube and things like that. You know? Try to keep that balance, you know?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And you know, when we first met, I told you about my cousin, and you know my cousin, aka Tony.
Yes.
Yeah, and I actually called him that night, and you know, he had a lot of great things to say about you.
That means a lot. That means a lot.
I grew up. He introduced me to poetry years ago because he grew up in Leimert Park, and I was telling you about where he used to perform at this place called Fifth Street Dick's.
Oh, okay.
That Fifth Street Dick's is one of the oldest poetry places in Leimert Park. Like if you go to Leimert Park and talk to some old heads, they'll tell you about some Fifth Street Dick's.
I know they will too. Yeah,
it's some great stories. We had some great times there. People used to go in there and do jam sessions and poetry, and like I said, and it was all free.
Gosh,
like there wasn't no charge to get in, and like just the art form was just incredible on any given night. Like we'd just go hang out.
Beautiful.
And that's where I fell in love with poetry.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Now I kind of want to know when you fell in love with poetry too. Oh, but first, one more shout out to AK Tony. He just did a show also at Beyond Baroque.
Yeah.
Doing some beautiful, beautiful work out there. So like, keep doing what you're doing, brother. Appreciate you.
No, yeah, and for him, because he learned from the greats, right? All those old heads, like he learned from it, and I saw him go through his struggles, right?
Yeah.
Like as all artists, you know. But again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. He followed his passion. And I can even remember his uncle and a lot of people were telling him, no, you should do this, you should do that. And he never gave up on poetry.
Heck yeah.
He never did. Like he followed his passion. And I look at him to today, like so many people respect him in that space. Like to me, he's a legend in that space now. Like he's one of the legends. Yeah. And he's great at what he does.
100%.
So yeah. Anyways, go back to your unless you had it.
Yeah. When did you fall in love with poetry?
Me, you know, I think as a kid there was a lot of performing arts. I was lucky enough to be shipped out, so I went to Wilbert Elementary. Okay. In Tarzana. That's where my brother went to Pali, and I think there was a lot of performing arts. We had a lot of artists, but growing up, music to me is everything, and that is also a form of poetry. It's someone telling their story, you know, and rhyming it. So I think that's where I've always been very passionate. Like I tell, you know, Mike about the Wu-Tang saga, the series that came out.
Yeah.
I love the fact that the RZA allowed us into his mind, how Bobby really developed the music, you know, but that's how he was able to express, you know, what he would hear, what he wanted you to feel, to understand. So I think I can't say I'm like diehard into poetry. I think it's the music, and not just any music, but what is it that you're wanting to say? You know, what do you want me to understand? So I'm really big about that.
Awesome.
And yeah. So
there's no wrong answer, by the way. I
Yeah,
was gonna
no,
be like,
not at all.
you don't love poetry?
No, but you know what? Even like through rap, through rhyme, it really is poetry.
Absolutely.
You know, it's just a different form. So that's why I really, really, really love what the RZA did with the saga, the Wu-Tang, special. That was, I think they just ended it.
Yeah.
But
I haven't checked it out yet, but I heard.
it's
things.
so dope. Yeah, we actually got my son into it, and we got to see Wu-Tang and Nas perform a few months back, and I got to take my son. You know, so that was kind of dope. Busta Rhymes came out.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? So these are all like
Yeah.
poet in their own in their own art form.
so good.
I'm big on music. Love music.
And that's what I'm going to add too, is that technically speaking, you do love poetry.
I do.
Yeah, because
And
hip hop is
it's-
poetry.
Right. It's poetry over music. And a
Music,
lot
yeah.
of people, I'll still tell kids in workshops and at schools and stuff like that, like, how many of y'all love poetry? And they'd be like, And then how many of y'all love music? Like, what?
All right.
And I'm like, then y'all love
love
poetry. And it's such a fun reminder. And I
Yeah.
think, the art form of poetry with music is just, it's always going to keep it alive no matter what, for sure.
Right.
And at the same time, it hits different, for
Yeah, it
sure.
does.
It just, like when you have that certain rhythm with it, and whether they're rhyming or not even sometimes, like it's still beautiful to take in. I'm like,
That's big.
So you say you have another one for us?
Of course I do. Of course
Come
I do.
on.
I could talk to y'all all day. You better cut that out. Keep me focused. Keep me
Hey,
focused.
you already breaking records over here.
We're good.
All right. So this piece has been something that I'm still working on, and it I was actually like, there was a friend of mine in need that said, "Hey, can you share something or kind of just like say something that would help this person out where they're in a horrible relationship, they're wanting to go back to their ex that's not treating them right, that's disrespecting them constantly, that might even be cheating on them consistently, and they're just not happy." And so I was like, let me think of something. And this is the piece that I need to get out more often. 10 things I want to say to a woman with her consent. I brought 10. I now wish I called this 10 things I want to share with a woman, because I know you get told and spoke to and at so much that sometimes a male voice can feel like a record skipping, wanting you to move, push, pull. May I say, I can say and will enjoy listening to you. How else will I learn about you or from you, your perspective, your story, your past, present, and future wishes for yourself and the worlds you birth out, if I don't listen to the essences of you? 9, I'm sorry for not seeing it sooner. How much a male-dominated society has squeezed you into the margins of an 8x11 world, keeping you in line, insulting you with one name, praising you with another, cursing you in public, abusing you in private, praising your body parts as if you aren't attached to them, trying to control them as if they own them. Femicide or forced motherhood, taking away your rights, so if you go left, you get called someone who is pro-death, when your body is so beyond political. It's critical we let go of pitiful attacks on you when we are just mad with ourselves and our own hell we created, and won't get it till our ego sits down and meditates. I'm sorry it's so late. My apology alone is no justification, but a marker ever since I saw a 60-year-old man lust with eyes and mouth water after a teenage girl passed him at a 7-Eleven. I knew I needed to do everything inhumanly possible within my power to never be that kind of man. 8, you are enough. Always have been. Whether a breakup or magazines, 1,000 methods are used to make you feel like you aren't perfect the way you are. $500 billion a year you generate with insecurity instilled with products distilled into your masterful genetic makeup made up by products that damaged you, until they realize more money is made when you are unhappy and dependent on happiness from another's eyes. To make a goddess forget she is a creator and exists as beauty is half a David Blaine away from sawing your integrity in two. You are truth of persistence, patience, power, and plenty. You tame chaos within men's hearts and minds. You make someone feel loved with just a sincere look of your giving eyes. You are inner peace walking. 7, we will be better. 6, we are and will keep doing better. 5, we will call each other out when you are disrespected or hunted as prey, whether your name is Joyce Echequan, Michelle Ramos Vargas, Tina Priest, Jyoti Singh, Breonna Taylor, or Cynthia Osokoku. 4, We will add more action with thoughts and prayers to any atrocity against you, because no one is really believing in heaven when women and girls are in danger of just living. 3, we will love you with truth and your benefit in mind more than ours. 2, we will change this culture into what you are and have been helping us to create all along. A dynamically beautiful balance of masculine and feminine, with the feminine protected, respected, and listened to always. 1, we will care more about you than being right. We will care more about you than having power. We will care more about you than having control. You matter more than all of that. Thank you forever for your unnecessary patience we undeservingly keep receiving. Thanks again for listening, y'all.
Oh my God. I felt that. I felt that on every level. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
No problem.
You went deep on that one.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
And I have to like really remember who I'm talking to and what I'm saying in that piece. You know, I can't, like, you know, there's certain times where you feel like as an artist you can autopilot something, and I never want to do that with any of my pieces, you know?
No.
And I remember that a woman is next to me. That's how you identify yourself, right? As a woman. So like, I remember those kind of things, and how much, so much pain and disrespect and just the ignoring of women go on in this world that I don't always see.
Right.
And until I talked to so many more women about it, or until I went to all these open mics and listened to all these women's stories, and until more friends of mine opened up to me about this stuff, I would have never known. I would have never known. Yeah. It's just almost the equivalent of when you're black and you get pulled over all the time. But no one asks you, hey, how was your day? Did you get pulled over today?
Yeah.
Right.
You don't usually share stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it was kind of that equivalent where I wanted to make sure I make enough pieces addressing not just what women are going through and empowering women, but also empowering men to stop abusing women and stop disrespecting women, and actually take that conversation to men more when it keeps being directed to women so often. And like, oh yeah, women, they're gonna get their rights one day. Yeah. It's like, nah, why aren't you doing something about it? Why aren't we all participating in that right now? What's going on?
It starts
that
with
disconnect. Yeah, absolutely. And again, in terms of any feedback also after this or during this, if you want to let me know, because I've shared this with a number of women where I wanted to make sure that it either said everything it needs to say, or there's things I need to add to it, let me know. Or if there's things that I totally got wrong, for sure, let me know.
No, not at all.
Anything
Actually,
like that.
it really, it hit home, because as a woman, sometimes you become so immune to it, or it's normalized, you know, and then you're, like you said, you have to be stronger. You have to be courageous. Well, why wouldn't you just treat me the way, you know, I should be treated?
Yes.
It starts there, you know, and I think that's why I was hitting so much with conversations, because I think better understanding would come from that. Like you said, tell me how you feel. What did you think? Did I miss something? Now you're allowing me as a woman to be heard, to be seen, to be thought of. You know what I mean?
100%.
And when you're like, it's not just human body parts, there's more to me than just that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They glorify that. Oh, she has the body of a goddess. But what's that in her heart? You know what I mean? Does she really feel that? What you see? Can you see deeper than what it is on the outside?
Yeah.
You know, and as women, especially now with social media, they're just glorified for what's on the outside, but hurting in the inside because they don't know how to be treated. You know, they're just treating what's on the outside, what they see, what other people are going to see me with. You know, that's important. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Yeah, especially with everything going on in society.
Yeah.
We forget what is a woman. How can you not know what a woman is if that's where we all came from?
Whoa.
You know, Tupac said it best.
I was just about to say that.
Tupac said it best.
Yeah.
Came from a woman.
Got
Got your name from a woman.
Came from a woman.
That's poetry right there.
100%. Yeah. And I remember Talib Kweli said some lines about that too. And I think also this one guy named Acrobatic, underground hip hop artist. I don't want to call him underground because he lives above ground. He's not a Ninja Turtle. All right. Yeah. He said one piece that was really beautiful about it was called "Remind My Soul," and he said something about like, I can't remember the exact words, but something about if I disrespect woman, then I'm disrespecting self.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of that like connection, if you don't see your connection to woman and yourself, and you don't want to disrespect yourself or a woman, then you're good. You're in the clear. You know what I mean? But if you think it's okay to disrespect a woman for some reason,
right,
there's something off there. You're not seeing the woman in you. You're not seeing the feminine in you that you should be respecting, right? And like that whole concept of how much, I feel like as men, we could talk more about this for sure, emotionally, just the vulnerability, 100%. And you know what? One more shout out to my friend, Justin Baldoni, who has a podcast called Man Enough. And he talks about how much the vulnerability of men can change so much of the world and so many of the problems in the world if we just get more vulnerable and talk about this stuff out loud.
100%.
So I appreciate, again, y'all, the work you're doing. And I'll connect you with him too as well if y'all want to do it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got to do that.
Absolutely.
But I just have two short poems. If
No, of
that's
course,
cool.
yeah, no, it's you.
Because I see, you know what I mean, like
love
that
it.
imposter feeling,
No,
right?
no,
I'm like,
that's
but if they
good.
have
No,
to go, they have to get back to their
you're
kids or
good.
something. You know what I mean?
No, you're good.
Y'all are dope. Y'all are dope. Because this piece, I always want to share a new piece if I do a new program or a new podcast or something like that. And this one's about my pops, and it's my first time sharing it, y'all.
Exclusive?
Exclusive.
Okay.
Exclusive for 1NELife. For 1NELife, y'all. That's what we got, right? We got 1NELife, man.
That's true.
I mean, unless you believe in reincarnation, I guess that's the loophole.
Right.
Respect to all the Buddhists out there. Is it the lung, the cancer, or the heart? 3 things could be wrong at any given time. But my father is someone who loves life so much. He sometimes loves to live it for others. He definitely loves to live it for himself. And he has chosen to live it with one loyal companion. The lung, the cancer, the heart. His breath is always full when he laughs. A belly laugh, a short giggle. That reluctant, tucked in chuckle is my favorite, where he doesn't want to laugh at the joke, but it tickles something in his heart. Like when I say to him in my kid voice, "Hey, mister, how you doing?" And he can't help but feel something that might be called love, a feeling from someone that just wants to put a smile on his face, willing to make a joke out of thin air to make him feel good. A family that wants to make his dreams come true just by being their best selves, since that's all he wants. And for them all to major in psychology and learn another language and be able to paint, do stocks, play golf, win $1 million, and look as good as him doing it. He'd never admit that, but he chuckles at the truth of it. The lung, the cancer, the heart. One is working at half its capacity. One has water in it, and the other is growing. He makes jokes about dying sometimes, and sometimes he just talks about it. Hard to tell differences, since he keeps the same inflection when he jokes. You can almost tell by the slightest grin, a slight smirk by the corner of his mouth, or a glint in his eye, trying not to look at anything else and stay focused for too long, are the main giveaways. His smile is a beloved welcome mat. My home has always been where he is, and I don't know how to make a new one. But I promise to laugh as big as he would, so that any new home will still have him in it.
I love that. Thank you for that.
Thank you, seriously.
I felt that.
Thanks, y'all. And y'all are some comfortable people to cry in front of, so thank you for that too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I cry all the time.
Right? Isn't it great?
And it's so relieving. I love doing it. It's healthy.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
And it you know, as a man and as an artist, it took a while to get comfortable crying in public or crying after a performance or something, and not feeling in my head about it. You know what I mean? So I've been really inspired when I see other artists do the same, and you know, just like A.K. Tony or Mike the poet and all these really great poets of our day that a lot of people don't know even exist. Sometimes they've been doing that kind of work, and I've been seeing it, and it's taught me a lot about my own vulnerability and how beautiful it is to just listen to someone share a story that 3 minutes ago you knew nothing about this person. After 3 minutes of a poem, you feel like you know this person down to their toes.
Yeah.
You know, and just to close out with one more poem is this poem called Tribe that I feel like, you know, I'm going to dedicate to y'all because you continue to create Tribe. Y'all, I can see the work y'all do when I listen to a few of the podcasts before, and even the shout outs you do for community centers and different things in the community. Y'all are making that as much as being a part of it.
Yeah.
And it's something that's, I feel like, is this never ending recyclable type of thing of just being in community and being in tribe, you know? And shout out to my friend, Jamie Kyson, she goes, her music name is like Jamie May or like Jamie Lee May or something fun like that. And she invited me to be a part of a song of a track, and that was called Tribe. And she has a voice, I call her like the white Aretha Franklin, y'all.
Okay.
Beautiful voice. So yeah. Infinite connection, limited lessons. No more guessing when we start reflecting. No more deflection when we start confronting. No more fighting when we start embracing. Remembering unity is more important than you or me. Individually, we are beauty manifested, tested up to this very second, passing lovely, tougher than rugby. Love feeling love, freedom feeling free, life feeling right, light living light, energetically weightless, so present, no gifts at Christmas. We live in moments like miracles exist. You are worth every millisecond, so it's time to elevate, tune our station, set it straight. You only need one frequency to feel alive. Our lives reflect and rise as we find our tribe. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for being a tribe.
Aww,
Thanks.
Thank you for that, man. Thank you for all of them.
For real.
Beautiful.
Oh, man.
This is why I love what we do.
Right?
Yes.
Man, I
it's
love
so
it.
rewarding.
And for those that are just listening, I love seeing y'all smile too. Like I'm big on smiles. I love my dad's smile, my family smile, my mom's smile, my lady smile has a great smile too. Like that's so big to me.
Yeah.
So like just seeing people smile or think and feel, my top favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that with me too also, y'all.
Yeah, it does.
I'm speechless.
It's
right
contagious.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so contagious.
Best contagion ever.
That's the good stuff. Oh, man. What a
Wow.
treat. Thank you so much
thank you.
for being here, for taking the drive.
now. Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, and then one more shout out to the things that I'm about to do also.
No,
I want to
absolutely.
make sure y'all know, because y'all are so good at that. Like, oh yeah, what else is going on?
Yeah.
There's an event at the city of Santa Monica in I think it's April 29th. I want to say the 27th or the 9th. You can double check my Instagram for the dates. It's like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's an arts and literacy festival.
Oh, cool.
Family fun. There's live performances. There's always kid games, and there's a promotion of books and everything by the Santa Monica Public Library. Oh, cool. I'll be hosting that and having a great time with y'all. It's going to be fun. Guaranteed, or your money back and get it. That's a joke because it's free. It's another free event. I love saying that joke. And then also, I'd say April 22nd, there's a vegan rally for Earth Day also.
Oh, cool.
So in case you don't know what veganism is, or if you've been curious about it, or if you hate someone that's vegan, I'm sorry. I'm just going to apologize because a lot of people hate vegans, and I understand why sometimes. So I have no problem. Like, accepting that, and also realizing that, you know, it gives people a bad rap, right? Because if someone's mean to me or says something mean or like offends me, I'm not like, oh, you dirty meat eater. Like, why'd you talk to me like that? You know, we don't classify things like that. So yeah, hopefully this kind of event has great speakers, great food also to show you that, you know, eating vegan is not this terrible just tofu and salads thing that a lot of people think it is. And you might learn something new about animals or what's going on in the animal world right now. And just how much you didn't know how much you love animals even. You know, I didn't know I cared about, you know, horses as much until I found out about, you know, some of these horse track races are like just racing these horses to death, injecting them with stuff. I'm like, dang, why didn't I care about that right now? And I wouldn't have cared about it until I saw this post about this thing or that organization shared this. So that's going to be happening. I'll be sharing a poem there. And then also birthday events, you know, even if you're a new friend from this podcast, I'm happy to invite you to my future birthday events I'll be posting soon.
Hey.
For sure. I'm still celebrating all month long, y'all.
That's right.
And I think the last
You got to make it to one of those events.
You got to. Yeah, y'all are invited for sure. Oh my, I'll be sending an email ASAP.
All right,
okay?
for sure.
And I think the last thing I'll say is that I'm in talks right now with an artist to tour with them more and perform with them more and open for them and kind of stuff like that, like I did with Andy Grammer. I toured with Andy Grammer for 2 months.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people love his music. It's so uplifting, feel good music, by the way. And this guy's name is A.Y. Young.
Okay.
He has a thing called the Battery Tour, and he's promoting as one of the UN youth ambassadors, right? The 17 Sustainable Development Goals that the UN has made to reach world peace by 2030, right? Okay. And his main thing is about energy and energy conservation and things like that. There's a few of the SDGs are like, you know, ending poverty, you know, gender equality, climate change, stuff like that, that people are working on. And at the same time, they've developed a whole list, a whole program, entire breakdown scientifically of what we need to do to make all these things like reality.
Yeah.
And this guy, A.Y. Young, at Battery Tour on Instagram, he's actually done over 900 shows, 900 concerts, okay? All with battery-powered concerts. Like, he's doing them all with just battery power, solar power, that's it.
Oh, wow.
And each time he completes the concert or he does something like reach a certain point, he gives these kind of battery boxes to a village in need or to a city in need. And he's supplying the world with electricity. Yeah. And when you learn like that, I think there's still like 1 billion people or something that don't have electricity in this world. And they can't read at night. They can't power up something. They don't have a hospital near them that can go on past the nighttime, right? Things like that I would have never known about without this guy's knowledge and love for saving energy and helping people with electricity. So we're teaming up and trying to do more together. And so shout out to him and the great work he's doing as well. And I know so many great organizations and people that I don't get tired of shouting out. You know?
Thank you.
For sure.
They deserve to you know be recognized, and people should know about that and that does exist. Absolutely. You know, when you ask yourself, what can I do, you know, to help? Well, there you have it. Yeah. We just threw a few at you.
And it can be fun, by the way.
Exactly.
It can be fun. Yes. That's the crazy part. We're having the time of our life making music and poetry and having it powered by the sun. It's crazy. It's literally insane.
That's pretty dope. I would never thought about something like that.
Right?
That's why those people need to be shouted out.
For sure.
That is definitely dope.
Oh my God, this is so good.
Right?
Yeah, thank you, man.
You're
you
welcome.
Again,
welcome again. I want to keep welcoming you.
Yeah.
No, seriously, thank you. Thank you so much for your presence. Thank you for being a pillar in all these communities, you know, from Inglewood to Antelope Valley and beyond. You know, I can't thank you enough, man. You bring such a light to everything that you do and to a lot of people that, you know, for years to come that's going to, you know, listen to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you've already put in the work. You already planted the seeds, man. You've already helped so many people. Like, thank you for that.
Appreciate you, man.
Like you we talk about that a lot about people actually putting in the work, planting the seeds and doing the action. Like, you're one of those people that are putting the good back into this world.
Yeah, you are.
Like, for our youth and for the next generation. Like, I thank you for that, seriously, because we need more of that.
It's better to light a candle than to curse the dark.
Exactly.
That's my mantra, y'all, and I'm glad you see it in me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
100%.
I know. Big shout out to Michelle Lee though at the Palmdale Playhouse.
Michelle Lee.
Hey, if it wasn't for
Friend
her,
from college,
I mean,
Yeah, we wouldn't have met you, and big shout out to the Playhouse.
We're gonna see the Cinderella show tonight at the Playhouse. We're gonna go see it right now with her and her man. Yeah.
Hey, anytime you out here and you're doing a show, please feel free to reach out to us and come back on here. Let's talk about it and get the people out there in them seats.
100%. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome again, then. Dang it, dude, you're not gonna beat me at a compliment.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
I will compliment the out of you. You don't even know. I will literally make feces come out of you with how many compliments I do.
You know how many promos I'm gonna do off of this show? That's gonna thank you.
Thank you. Love y'all.
Yeah. All right, no, thank you, man, for taking the time. Appreciate it. Again, anytime, man. You're welcome back here anytime.
Yes. Be well, y'all. Be well.
Any last words you wanna throw out there?
Oh, remember to breathe and love yourselves, y'all. Like that's half the battle right there.
And listening is free.
And listening and breathing is always free. Yes. I don't gotta pay nobody for that. Ain't gotta pay nothing for breathing. Breathing 100% free all the time.
I'm doing it right now.
Right, buy one, get one, a lung. You got it. Breathe.
Y'all check out Sean Hill on Instagram at Let's Bend Reality.
Hey.
All right.
All right, guys.
We out of here.
Peace.